everyone. Welcome back to Poppin In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Molly.
And I'm Alexa.
And we hope everyone had a great Halloween. I know this is coming out Wednesday, and I've been given feedback that we should stop saying hope everyone had a great weekend, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
Well, I mean, we can still say we hope people had a great weekend and a great Halloween.
I was told
great lives and
by certain people who shall remain
it's me.
Remain nameless.
We've said my name.
And Chris said it pisses him off.
What? When did you say that?
One time we were eating dinner. He was like, it really pisses me off that you guys say, I hope everyone had a great weekend. Because for everyone who doesn't know, like, we record this on Mondays.
Yeah.
So, yes, I hope everyone had a good weekend, but it may be a little delayed.
Also, you know who I just realized you kind of look like today?
Who?
Is the actress who plays Willa on Succession. I don't know what it is about, like, your look, but, like, your expressions or, like, whatever. I also, like,
it might be
like
the hair. It might
cross
be the
between,
hair.
like, that and, like, Eloise.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's the bow. I'm wearing a black bow in my hair today. That's the greatest compliment because I think Willa is literally beautiful.
Oh, she is. I don't remember that actress's name, but she was also in the show with Kristen.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah,
Bell that I just watched. She was great.
I would love to be Eloise for Halloween one year, which I loved all the Halloween costumes. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Matthew and we talked about mine and Matthew's Halloween costumes, I think, on a previous episode, but it wasn't my favorite. I was fine with it. I loved yours.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, I went as Daria, and if you don't know who that is, well, you're probably too young to be listening to this. No, I'm just kidding. But she was like that 90s cartoon. I was originally going to be Ray Gun.
We were kind of too young, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, true. I was originally going to be Ray Gun, but the costume arrived at 8 a.m. the next day, like after our Halloween event, so pissed off about that. But yeah, I thought you guys had really cute costumes. I thought you were going to freeze. You were like wearing a dress, like a spaghetti strap like dress. I was like, I would be dying.
The alcohol kept me warm.
Yeah. But, so speaking of Halloween costumes, Queen of Halloween, Heidi Klum.
Oh my gosh. Oh, was she E.T.?
Yes.
That was she is terrifying.
She is. I would imagine those costumes are like so uncomfortable, but I love how much like effort she puts into them. But I love that beforehand she did like, it was just like this video where all you saw was like these brown ridges or whatever, and it was kind of like a hint at what she was wearing, and nobody, like, I think maybe one person, when I read the comments, guessed it, but
I mean, I feel like I would just guess it just because at this point Heidi Klum is like the queen of...
My favorite is hers, the worm last year.
The worm scared me so bad. It like grossed me out.
Literally, Kate Spade came out with this croissant tag. It literally is like looks like a croissant, and I commented on the Instagram ad and I said, "Why does this look like Heidi Klum worm?"
Did people like it?
No.
Why does this look like Heidi Klum worm? Yes. It was like, it's so insane. She transforms, her makeup team is great.
Yeah. I mean, she has the money to do it, you know.
Yeah, but it's like, what are you doing in that costume? I imagine she takes it off immediately after she does pictures.
Oh, yeah.
You know what pisses me off, though, about celebrity costumes now is and I've noticed this like with the Kardashians specifically, but it's less about, but more celebrities are doing this now, is it's less about like the costume and more about just like a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Like they're not wearing it anywhere. Kylie Jenner dressed up as not dressed up. She like literally was naked.
Yeah.
And she was, who is it? It was like Demi Moore in a movie.
Oh, it was
Shoot.
I literally she dressed up as Demi Moore from Striptease, where she's literally just naked. She just did the cover of the album or the movie.
Yeah, so I think okay, so she did face a lot of like criticism for it because they were just like, it's not a Halloween costume. You just posed in like in a nude photo shoot, which is fine, not judging, but I'm just saying like we've gotten away from like the point of Halloween.
Yeah,
it's not to just take JoJo. That would have been a good costume as a JoJo Siwa costume. Actually,
this girl from my office went as JoJo Siwa, and she said this so I can say this about her, but like her voice sounds just like her in that like it's always kind of hoarse.
Oh,
and when she said that, I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Dream guest on my podcast?
Yeah. Let's go crazy, my ex, or whatever she says. I'm like, okay, I think you might be 18 years old for sure. But I thought Lizzo's was very interesting. So first of all, she did one where it was like Lizzo Zempic because with like the South Park kid behind her, because South Park made fun of Lizzo and did like a Lizzo
on their
Zempic.
like Ozempic.
And then she went as like a face card where it was like literally her face like in a giant credit card. Which was interesting. And then she did one more I can't even remember, but I liked that one. I thought I liked what was it? What's her name? Kylie Jenner's sister, Kendall Jenner.
Kendall, yeah.
And Hailey Bieber, they went as, I just saw it.
Well, Kendall and Kylie they went as Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie.
Yeah, yes.
But Kendall and Kylie did Lizzie McGuire and Isabella from the movie.
That was good.
And I thought that was cute.
I was curious how they decided which was going to be which.
I was thinking that too because they both have dark hair.
Yeah.
I think Kylie looks a little bit more like Isabella, so that made sense.
Also, we should add that to our list of...
We should. That would be
That'll
perfect.
be... That's a future thing for you guys.
Literally your color hair.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite, though, this year was probably Amelia... what's her name from
D'Amelia? Sorry, Amelia...
Amelia D'Amelia. Wait, go up.
Amelia.
Go down. Demoldenberg.
Demoldenberg, yeah.
She dressed as what's the secretary from Monsters Inc? The one that's like, I'm always watching. It was crazy.
Okay.
Did you see it?
No.
Okay, I want you to react to it.
Oh, that's perfect. I bet she's so fun to hang out with.
I know. She's like she's probably my favorite person.
She has a dream trajectory.
She does.
The thing is, she was talking about, like, you know, in the beginning of Chicken Shop Date, it was kind of just, like, a random, like, whatever. Like, we're just going to do this. And they just had random, like, D-list famous people on. Yeah. And now look at her.
She would just interview, like, rappers that she cared about. And now it's, like, literally she's interviewing, like, Jennifer Lawrence and just super famous people.
Now she's the woman from Monsters, Inc. Like, what a trajectory.
You know what I'm really jealous of her? Or not jealous of her, but what I think is, like, really cool of her is that, like, her humor... Like, everybody gets it. Like, every celebrity who... I've never seen, like, an awkward celebrity interview with her. Like, they all seem to get her humor. And she's somehow, like... She's just, like, effortlessly charming.
Yeah. I also... So, first of all, like, friend of the pod, aka my boyfriend Chris, on the way to our Halloween event, he was like, yeah, this will probably be my last Halloween. And I'm like, you're not dying. I don't know why he talks like that. But I just want to put out there the costumes that he shot down. Mm-hmm. One... cat dog, because he said nobody knows where they go to the bathroom.
Okay, he has shot that down like 3 years in a row now.
Yes, and I'm just like, why? I said, I told him next year I want to go as Kermit and Miss Piggy.
That'd be really cute.
And that's when he said, sigh, this is probably my last Halloween.
Sigh.
Yeah. And then I think I told you I wanted to go as 2 birds, 1 stone. I was like, we just dress as birds and we have like a paper mache rock.
I'm gonna turn that one down.
Okay. I said a Scantron and a number 2 pencil, and he asked me which one is which? Which one's gonna have to be the pencil? And I was like, I don't know why that matters.
That doesn't sound comfortable though. To be a Scantron, it sounds like you'd have to wear a big costume.
It'd be my Scrabble
Some
board.
of these I'm also vetoing. Okay. But the first 2 I really liked.
Thank you.
Also, I think so I really want to go as Remy and the chef from Ratatouille.
Yes.
And I noticed so many people did that this year. I'm like,
yeah. I was originally going to go as Raygun
next year, but
actually maybe it's good that I didn't, because I think a lot of people went as Raygun.
I didn't see one person go as Raygun.
A lot of like people online went as Raygun. I should clarify.
So
including a set of dogs they do like, you know, they do in New York City, and I think it's Washington Square Park, like the Halloween parade where it's like dog costumes.
Yeah,
it's my favorite tradition, and there were a lot of Raygun dogs.
And Alexa really like struggled with whether she should return the costume because it came like a day late.
Yeah.
And she was like, should I just return the costume? And I think yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna return it.
Because I know, like, I think Chris was saying like, oh, I don't think this is the last we're gonna see of Raygun, so you could always go as her next year. But my thing is, I think it's the last we're gonna see of her in that outfit.
Yeah, and like cultural
She'll be on
relevance.
Dancing with the Stars.
I actually sent, and hold me to this next year, I saw someone win as a little free library.
That's cute.
And I was like, I should do that. Or I wanted to be Amelia Bedelia. Amelia de Moldenberg should be Amelia Bedelia. I don't know if they had that in the UK. She's British, right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, so...
They might not. It seems like a British thing, though. Amelia.
Yeah, Amelia Bedelia. Absolutely.
I'm
Amelia
so
Bedelia.
The fact that you were going to call her Amelia D'Amelia. Charlie D'Amelio.
I love that for her. But yeah, were there any other costumes that you liked?
I just was I'm still angry about because I really want to do the Ratatouille one, and I feel like so many people did that this year. So
but
now
you'd have to put a rat in your hair, and you're afraid of rats.
I love Ratatouille.
You are a woman.
No, I wouldn't put a rat in my hair. I would dress as the rat. I would wear a cute little gray.
That's shocking. And once again, like, you contain multitudes. That's
I am
crazy.
what I fear.
Okay. I am the thing I fear. I love that. But anyways, speaking of costumes, I guess.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, okay, so if you have been living under a rock. Kamala Harris is running for president, and she was on SNL.
The way you said it made it sound like you just found out. I guess Kamala Harris is running for president.
Did you know there's an election tomorrow?
Yes.
Or yesterday for you listeners.
Alexa and I will. Well, we've already voted, so
yeah,
early
voting.
Yeah, early voting. I would encourage people to do that, but by the time this episode's come out, it'll
be too late for you.
It'll be very too late for everyone. Alexa and I will be seeing a movie, though. We'll be in the in the safety of a theater.
Yeah, but we do want to encourage you, whatever you were going to vote for, to go out and vote and to exercise your democratic freedoms or whatever.
Yeah.
But we will be seeing a movie during it, which I think is better.
Yeah, just to let me know. I need to disassociate for a minute.
What happens? But anyway, so Kamala was in SNL, and the way they announced it was literally
literally a little bit before.
Yeah, and I think newspapers kind of figured it out because they saw the trajectory of her plane change.
Yeah.
And I will say, so I was in Syracuse this past weekend with friends of the pod, Frank and Emily, and we're about to go to bed, and then we were like, oh, Kamala's going to be on SNL, and we put it on, and I will say, I think she did a good job for she's not a comedian or improv person.
No.
I think they gave her the right amount of jokes, where she said them, and I think I think she did a good job. She was on for an appropriate amount of time.
It was a cute cold open.
Yeah,
Kamala,
it was.
Take my Pamela.
Yes.
And also yeah, it was the cold open, and I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. I thought maybe it was going to be Maya Rudolph talking to her former, a past self or something. Yeah. But it was she was talking into the mirror, and the mirror was Kamala, and it was just so cute. And I thought I could see it. I felt like Maya Rudolph got a little emotional at one point.
Oh, I think she definitely. I mean, you have to being a person of color, sitting there with the vice president who's running the current potential next president of the
next president of the world
of the United States, who if she would be the first woman of color to be so
yeah, it was kind of powerful.
Yeah, and seeing them stand next to each other, it's wow, SNL did a good job on those outfits.
I don't always. Okay, so I'm curious what your thoughts are on. I don't know if you watch if you've seen, because I actually don't. I haven't seen too many of the SNL sketches of the political figures since the new season came out, if that makes sense. So I haven't really seen too much of there's an act, I don't know his name, but he's a SNL cast member, and he plays Trump now. So Alec Baldwin used to play Trump. I actually really prefer it when somebody plays I actually really liked when Alec Baldwin played Trump, because I felt I like it better when it's an exaggeration rather than an exact impression.
A dead ringer, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not as impressed on SNL by dead ringer impressions.
Yeah.
And so I feel it's less funny when it's so I don't really like when the guy plays but I do think, I loved Andy Samberg plays Doug, and it was just funny. Also, so John Mulaney hosted, and Chappell Roan was the musical guest, and I thought about our previous conversation about Chappell Roan and her whole thing with how she doesn't want to endorse Kamala, and I saw people were I wonder what it's right now backstage.
Yeah.
How does Chappell Roan feel about that?
Because the thing is, it was definitely, I don't think it was a pre-planned thing. It was definitely a last minute thing, and so I think she was probably just well, I guess I have to. Also, I will say, I think John Mulaney's monologue was very good. So, except for the stuff about short people.
I know, I cringed a little bit at that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, again, I don't have children, or I was gonna say a family. I do have a family, but not one that came from my loins, And so I think sometimes it's interesting when comedians or famous people start to have a family, and then all their stuff becomes about family stuff. I think sometimes it's this is funny because it's our kids or our family, but everyone else is kind of
he does talk. So actually, the funny thing about that monologue was I've seen all those jokes, because that was that was the material he was doing at our show.
I was wondering if he has to write something new for SNL.
No, it was the same. Okay. Yeah, which is fine. I get that, obviously, and it was still funny, but I did actually cringe a little bit at the Asian short people jokes. And I mean, he's not Asian. He's married to Olivia Munn, who's Asian, and he was making a joke about how all of his life now is just looking down at people, because he's looking down at his son, his 2-year-old son or whatever, and then his wife, who was a 4-foot Asian woman, and then his mother-in-law, who's a 3-foot, and I just felt even though he's a comedian, but I was just I wonder how people would react to that.
I want to look this up, because I'm is Olivia Munn that short?
Maybe compared to him, but I didn't think she was.
She's 5'4".
That's about average.
Yeah, so that's why when he said that, I was I mean,
you're not,
she's not super short or anything.
Yeah.
But so I think, like, the beginning, it was a little bit, like, and then he really got into it.
I love his jokes about, he did, like, more in his show, obviously, but, like, his jokes about, like, his grandfather being too old for World War II was so funny.
Yeah.
He's too old for the oldest thing.
Yeah. He was like, he talked about, like, being in rehab, and he was like, his dad was like, I wish your grandfather was here. And he's like, I don't think he'd have any great advice on, like,
113.
Yeah.
What would he, like, I don't
what does he know about social media pressure?
Backlash, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love, so John Mulaney, I think I said this on a previous episode, John Mulaney's, like, my favorite host. Mm-hmm. And so I was, like, just such a banger of an episode. It was John Mulaney, Chappell Roan, all these, like, and then he also did the What's That Name sketch, which is, like, a really funny one that he's done previously. But it was like an election. So Tim Kaine was on SNL. Like, did you see that?
No, I didn't.
He came on that sketch.
I'll be honest, like, we watched it, the Kamala thing, the cold open, like, the monologue, and then all of us were like, and bed.
I've seen every single sketch. I didn't watch it live. I just, like, watched
This was the first time I had watched it live, and when they did, like, you know, the SNL intro where it has, like, the regular cast members, I will say some of the people was like, who are you?
Yeah, it's a new cast.
Yeah, I was like, oh, y'all are young. And I'm like, now I see what my dad is saying.
Well, it's like what we talked about before. I feel like we did just have this conversation. But
yeah,
I do think, like, with this cast, I'm, like, comparing it. And it's not just the cast that I loved from, like, middle school. It was also ones after that. But this cast, I'm not, like, super crazy about. There's no one on there. Like, I do like Bowen Yang, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mikey Day is also very funny. He's on, and then, like, Heidi Gardner. But, like, other than that, I'm just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that Kamala was on. I think, like, it was a very, like she, you know, because she did Call Her Daddy, too. Like, she's definitely hitting, like, the pop culture moments. But, again, I think she did a great job. Like, I loved when... Oh my god, why can't I think of her name? The actress who plays her.
Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph, yes. She, like, did the laugh, and then Kamala was like, do I really laugh like that? And she's like, yeah. Kind of. Which I do think it would be hard to, like, make fun of the
Somebody
person.
right in front of them.
Yes, especially if they are, like, running for president.
But I feel like she can take a joke. Like, I feel like she's very... Obviously, she loves to laugh, so...
Yeah. But yeah, so speaking of the current political climate, you saw The Apprentice.
Yeah, I watched The Apprentice this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, you said you rented it, right? With your parents?
No, my parents rented it. I was supposed to watch with my mom, but she didn't wait for me. Shout out Cindy. Wow. So she rented it she and my dad watched it, and then she was like, we have it for 48 hours on our Amazon account. So I watched it at home. But anyway, so I watched it, and it was very good. It was, I don't know if people really know, like, what it's about, but if you don't, it's because it's not just about, like, current Donald Trump. It's, like, it's basically a Donald Trump, like, origin story. And it's set in the 70s and 80s. And it's, like, it's his early years as, like, a real estate businessman. And it's just, like, how he becomes, like, who he is today. Mm-hmm.
I love a good origin story, and I think, like, and we'll talk about this when we get into the Martha Stewart doc, but, like, sometimes I get mad, like, when documentaries or, like, biopics are just, like, here's their childhood, and they're an adult, and I'm like, no, give me the dirty details of them, like, in middle school, you know?
Yeah, so it was kind of different. It was, like, I think it was really the only take that they could do for a movie about Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Did you think it was fair?
I did. I think, well, I mean, I know it definitely doesn't put him in a good light at all. So I say an origin story, but it doesn't, in no way does it make him, like, I'll just be honest, in no way does it make him look really good in any light. Like, it's not ever, like, a sympathetic light. Yeah. So it's basically what it really, like, focuses on is, like, his relationship with the ruthless attorney, Roy Cohn, who kind of, like, helped shape him into, like, who he becomes. So he, and Roy Cohn is played by Jeremy Strong.
Very nice.
Our number one
friend
boy.
Of the pod, Jeremy Strong. Is he our number one? Actually, I had you make a ranking of your men, and he didn't make the list.
I'm quoting Succession.
Oh my god, I'm stupid. Okay,
I was like,
sorry.
No, he's not.
Sorry.
I wouldn't say he's my number one boy. And Jeremy Strong acts his ass off in this movie, as he always does.
That man is assless.
Truly... Like, if you go back and, like, watch an interview with Roy Cohn, like, he literally sounds and looks just like him. Like, the thing about it is he kind of has this, like, he almost has this, like, I was describing him as, like, this, like, reptile look almost. Like, it's just, like, soulless behind the eyes. He, like, walks like him. He talks like him. And then Sebastian Stan plays Trump, and at first I was like, he doesn't really sound like him. Like, I didn't think it was like a good impression. And then it's like, it's so subtle, and which is what makes it good. Like, it's not this like over the top like parody of Trump.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to do an impression of him now, but I feel like to do this when he's like in his 20s.
Yeah.
I think the movie starts out when he's like in his late 20s.
Yeah.
And so...
And I think it's important to remember, like, Trump probably sounded different when he was in his 20s than he does now.
And I think he got some of his voice from Roy Cohn a little bit. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, because he kind of, I mean, he doesn't have as, like, he's, you know, he's got a New York accent, but, like, that, like, sort of cadence that he has, like, it's like you start to hear it a little bit more throughout the movie. And so it's like, it's very subtle, and it's just really good. Like, they will definitely, I hope that they get, like, Oscar nominations, because they were both so good.
Was it in theaters at all?
So... Interestingly, I feel like it was kind of buried a little bit. So it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May, but then it struggled, and it got like really good reviews. And then it struggled to find American distribution because of its subject matter, and an attempt by Trump's legal team to block its release. And finally, the company bought the rights, and it was theatrically released in October. So it's gotten really good reviews, but I do think it's been buried. Like, it wasn't playing at many theaters.
Yeah, which is, like, shocking, because you would think, like, a movie coming out about Donald Trump around the, like, this time period, even if you tried to bury it, you would think it would get, like, no matter what, like, blown up a little bit, you know?
But that's why I do kind of want to, like, say, like, I feel like people might also think, like, oh, it looks boring or something, because it's, like, about his early year. It's, like, about his start. And, again, it's heavily about his relationship with Roy Cohn, who kind of, like, you know, he really made him, because, like, it shows Donald Trump as, like, this, like, hungry, like
he's the apprentice in this.
Yes, exactly. Like, he really wants to get where he's going. Like, it really, like, shows him as, like, being just, like, very, like, hungry for success and, like, eager to make his name. But, like, Roy Cohn was the one who took him under his wing and, like, really, like, you know. But it was interesting. I didn't know a lot about Roy Cohn as a person, and you definitely find out a lot more about him. It's got, like, a very, obviously, it's, like, a sad ending. And the thing that really shocked me is, like, this movie must have a really crazy legal team, because they're trigger warning, but it shows, like, a sexual assault scene.
Yeah.
Or sexual violence. From Trump towards his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised by that. Like, I was like, oh.
Yeah. They probably do have, like, I would say probably, like, all of the marketing money that would go into this movie probably went to, like, a legal defense.
Right.
Like, team, just seal that all up.
Yeah, and so it's also about his relationship with his ex-wife, Ivana Trump. And she was she was the one who originally said that he did that to her. And then she met with his team and then took it back. So,
and I think, like, it makes sense, like, what you're saying, like, people might think it's boring because it's about the early years, but again, that's what I want to know about. Like, I don't want to know about any of the recent stuff, because it's like, well, I was there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to, and again, like, it's an origin story, but it does not paint him in a good light. Like, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes you understand him a little bit better, but not, like, you're not, like, you don't leave the movie feeling sympathetic towards him, if that makes sense.
And I think, like, people who are, like, such tropes or, like, figures outside of, like, even before, like, he became president, etc., like, he was such, like, a figure in society, or it's so interesting to look back and see how they got there, and, like, just, like, I don't know, how they made that, like, household name for themselves, because usually it's not what you think, or, like, I don't know, it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, and that's why when you ask me if I felt like it was fair, I'm like, it's hard to say that, because it's more just like it's about such a specific time.
Yeah.
And it's about, like, like I said, his relationship with Roy Cohn. So,
and it's also interesting, I think, to, like, see, again, we'll get into this when I talk about, like, the Martha Stewart doc, but, like, people where it's like, by the time we were born, they were already, like, relatively old, you know? So, like, being like, oh, that's right, at one point they were 24 or 32 or whatever is so interesting.
And the thing is, like, the actor that plays him, Sebastian Stan, I mean, he's a Marvel actor. He's, like, very attractive man, but he can transform his body like crazy. Like, he played Tommy Lee, so he got really skinny when he played Tommy Lee in the show, and then he gained weight for this role, I assume. And so it is crazy, like, I feel like he's kind of like, I think it's really cool for a Marvel actor to take on such like kind of interesting roles, because I feel like, you know, you could go for like the just always like an action movie or something, but he takes on very like artsy film roles, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I think you should give it a watch.
Yeah, I do plan on watching it.
I think it's still like $20 to rent though. So.
Yeah, I will be like renting it for free when it comes out. And also, like, it feels a little bit touchy at the moment. I feel like I want to go, I was about to say, see something lighthearted. We're about to go bawl our eyes out at We Live in Time tomorrow. But yeah, well, that's interesting. We both watched Only Murders in the Building. So actually, when you came in, I was trying to finish the last episode. And I have like 20 minutes left, or actually the whole episode, but whatever. I think I've gotten to the point, and we probably will discuss some spoilers, just FYI if you haven't finished it. But what are your thoughts? So this is season 4.
So I remember you said you thought it was boring when you first started watching it, didn't you? You kind of like uninterested. I actually thought it was a really good season. In the like I thought the idea of them going to LA, like at first I was kind of like I don't like them straying from the story, like from the hotel, but they don't really go to LA for that long. Ultimately, I think they go for like like a few, they go like kind of back and forth, but they go to like in the beginning, but then they're back in the hotel like for the rest of the season. It was, I will say, it was a hell of a lot of cameos. It relied heavily on which they make a joke about at one point, but I also think it's funny, like I know I'm going back and forth, but like I think it's funny when sometimes I keep thinking they're breaking the fourth wall when they talk about like seasons. They'll be like on the last season, but then I'm like, oh, they're talking about the podcast.
And sometimes, and I think like maybe they got into this a little bit more this season, but I was curious. I'm like, okay, what are they recording? Like, how does, like, I would love to like actually just hear what the episode sounds like.
That's one thing that I feel like it's like we don't really know a lot about is sometimes I forget they're recording a podcast, to be honest. Like until they're like suddenly talking into their phones or whatever. But
I think like this season, it felt a little bit boring to me, maybe because there was so much happening the whole, like it just felt like the other seasons. I think season 3 was
my favorite.
My favorites.
Yeah, same.
Season 2 like was, I think, forgettable.
It was to me forgettable. I don't remember anything.
I think we forgot like who the murderer was. We were talking.
I don't remember what the storyline was.
That was the one with Cara Delevingne where I said her and Selena Gomez kissing were like 2 planks of wood.
Yeah.
But I think like this season there was just like a lot of plots, you know, like a lot. I think there were a lot of characters.
There were a lot of characters. I mean, yeah, literally, because they had like what are they called, the Westies, or what are they called, the ones who are across the who I loved all those actors, so I thought that was cool. Like, but then you've got them, and that's like 4 or 5 characters. Yeah. But then you've also got the
you've got
the actors that are playing them in the movie about their lives. So it's like Ava Longoria, Zach Galifianakis.
And Dan Levy.
Nope.
Eugene Levy.
Eugene Levy.
Oops. You don't ever go with what I'm saying.
I literally was just like repeating everything.
You're like, yep.
Exactly.
But then they also have Molly Shannon, who I love.
Yeah.
They have the
Melissa McCarthy
plays a sister. They also have Meryl Streep is coming back in and out.
Yeah, and then Jane Lynch.
Yes, Jane Lynch. And then, because they also have this whole thing where it's like the stunt doubles.
Oh, and then Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Then they also have so many. The sisters' brothers, who are like the directors of the movie.
No, the brothers' sisters.
Whatever. Like, you know, like I'm just like,
think that was kind of
and then they have like some of the original like people who live in the Arconia pop in and out. Like there's Howard and like whatever. And I'm just like, there's a lot going on that I think that makes it almost feel like too much.
But and then what's her face, the ex-wife comes back too, the one who was in prison. Jan, yeah,
like she comes back, she disappears in his closet. Do they ever like, I haven't finished the last episode. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, again, spoilers.
I mean, spoil it for me, I don't care.
Yeah, it's actually but I think so. One thing I will say, I did love, like, I love Jane Lynch, and I loved her whenever they would show, like, it almost made me a little emotional, like throughout the show when they would show her like flash, because she was like such a good person and
Saz Pataki,
and such a good friend to Steve Martin's character, and like I loved all that. And so I thought it was like actually a very like in some ways a kind of an emotional season.
Yeah,
but. First of all, okay, so here's one thing I'll say. I know I keep saying how much I love, like, Martin Short and Meryl Streep's, like, chemistry and like, in the fact that they're, like, I think it's, like, kind of official now that they're dating in real life. which I still feel like is a little bit of a publicity stunt, but whatever. But I know I keep saying how much I think it's cute, but sometimes I watch the show and I kind of think that they're like a weird couple because they're
That's
like,
what I've been
I feel
saying.
like he's like more into her than she is.
I think like Meryl Streep is a phenomenal actress, but like in this role, she is very interesting to me because I don't think I'm like getting a lot from her. You know, like I think they could have had anyone play this role, but it's just like because it's Meryl Streep. But yeah, I don't think like their relationship. So she's not even in the season that much. She like I think is in a total of
She's
maybe,
in it more than I thought she would be. Yeah, I will say
she's mentioned a lot. They talk about her character a lot, but like she basically is in. I think it's like the first episode. It's like a phone call, and then in the middle of the season, her and Melissa McCarthy get in a fight, and then I'm assuming she's in the last episode or whatever.
The scene, I did like the episode where they go to Melissa McCarthy's house. Yeah. But I thought the scene where they were fighting was so weird.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's supposed to be interesting because it's like supposed to be this whole thing where Charles, played by Steve Martin, like it's supposed to be like, oh, he doesn't like let out his anger, and then you like see his sister is like a very angry person, and they allude to like his mom being a very angry person. But I'm just like, I never got the vibe from him that he was emotionless in other seasons. I felt like he was a very emotional person.
They did kind of bring that in, like, I mean, he's not as emotional as like Martin Short's character, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I did really like it. Okay, so how did you feel about the like reveal of the murderer?
Okay, so I will say I think almost every season I am pretty good at picking the murderer.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I picked him spot on, but I was like, well, it's gotta be him.
As soon as they showed him, I was like, okay, he's probably... Cause
originally I thought it was him or Molly Shannon, but then when Molly Shannon did the whole thing where she's like, I've got a gun, I was like, well, it's not her.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Molly Shannon. I'm trying to think who I really thought it was. I don't know. I really wanted one season to just be one of the three of them. Yeah. Like, I think about that often where I'm like, I sometimes will think...
It'd be Selena Gomez.
Yeah, or like, yeah. But I think with this one, I get kind of irritated when they introduce somebody halfway through and that's the murderer. They did that with Jan as well. And I kind of feel like that's like cheap a little bit. Like, I'm like, well, that's not fair. You just introduced them. How was I supposed to know from the beginning that it was going to be, you know?
It's a lot of like misdirections. And the reason I knew it was Jan in the beginning was because like I learned when I took like my screenwriting class or whatever that like nobody's in a show, like every minute counts. So they're not gonna like, I'm like, they're not gonna, they barely talked about this guy who's the screenwriter. They talked about, like, he had like an episode, but they never really came back to him. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, well, it's gotta be him, because why else would this fucker matter? Sorry, that was aggressive. But
no, I thought that, I did originally think it might be the brother sisters when they first showed them, because they didn't seem super relevant in any other way. I knew it wasn't any of the, like, Westies. Like, I figured it wasn't them. Is that what they were called?
I think so.
Weren't they from the West Tower? Yeah. So, I did also think it was him, but I do kind of think, like, it just seems weird to introduce them.
Yeah. Halfway through. It's definitely, like, a lot of misdirection. Like, I think I like it more so when it's someone who's been in your face all along, but you haven't realized it. But that is hard to do. Yeah. You know, like, but...
They did it with the last season because remember it was the producer and her son.
Yeah, and which I thought was very good.
I thought it was. I think threw me off because I don't think I expected them, and they were in it from the beginning.
Yeah,
of the season.
I think I figured out it was them like an episode or two before they revealed it was, but there was, I forget. I'd have to go back and listen, but there was something like that they said distinctly where I was like, okay, well they probably would kill for each other or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think like the second season. Who died? Oh, what's her face? The one with the glasses.
Yeah, the woman in the hotel or air.
But who killed her?
It was it was Tina Fey's, like, so when Tina Fey ran that podcast, it was like the girl that worked for her, which I always forget was from the second season.
Yes, that actually was a surprise to me, but also that season is very unforgettable.
Exactly. No, it's forgettable.
Very forgettable.
Yeah. But however we feel about, like, each season, clearly it's good. I still think it's such a good show.
It's cozy. It's cozy murder.
Cozy murder. And it's also just, like, the acting. It really is what it is because of, like, the chemistry between Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez. Like, I love their relationship. However you feel about Selena Gomez's acting, because I also agree I don't think it's great. But I do love the three of them together.
She was just like, I'm Selena Gomez. I think
I agree.
There's a murder.
I agree, but I think they have good chemistry. Like, there's something about them being, like, such an odd couple, the three of them, that it's like... Yeah.
I think it would be different if I had, like, seen her act in something else and I was like, wow, she's acting as someone different. She's just acting as herself. So I just think, like, I just don't see her as, like, that standout. I think, like, I like Selena Gomez, but I'm just kind of like,
she's in some movie that's coming out soon that apparently, like, she won an award at one of the film, like, I don't know if it was Cannes. It was, like, one of them, though. She won, like, an award for it. So I'm like, okay. I think it might be a Spanish-speaking movie, but I'll have to look into that more. I don't know all the details.
Did it get picked up for a season 5? I don't remember.
Yes. Okay. And that's my thing, too, is I kind of,
How many people can die in this building?
Well, you'll find out at the end of the season.
Interesting.
But I do think... It did not set me up for, like, it didn't end and I was, like, excited for a season 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is a new character who comes in and then you're kind of like, okay. But I think, like, it didn't leave me on as much of a cliffhanger as the past seasons are. Yeah. I also do hope it ends soon, which I think is a weird thing to say about shows. It's an unpopular opinion, but I always want shows to end on a high note, and I actually thought it was going to end with, like, season 4, so I was kind of surprised that they renewed it for a season 5. I hope they ended after season 5.
I do want to say there was a really sweet moment in, like, the second to last episode where Steve Martin is like, oh, like, they have this big argument because he's supposed to be planning Martin Short's, like, bachelor party or whatever, and he's like, you know, sorry, I got upset, but basically he's like, I thought, like you were my emergency contact, now Loretta's gonna be yours, and, like, I thought we would grow old together. I thought that was very sweet because I think that is just also very their relationship. Like, I think it's accurate to them. I love their relationship.
Well, now, so, again, this is why I sometimes think the Martin Short and Meryl Streep thing is a little bit of a publicity stunt, because around that episode's airing, Steve Martin was posting, like, photos on Instagram of, like, it would be, like, Martin Short and Meryl Streep, like, rumors, and it's like he was joking about being, like, the third wheel or whatever. I forgot. But he was, like, making jokes about it on Instagram, so I'm like, okay, are they just promoting the show? Yeah. But either way, I do think it's, like, I actually find Martin Short to be so charming.
He is.
Like, I genuinely have a crush on him, so I'm like, oh, like...
When he did his accent, I realized, I was like, in my head, he's always been a little leprechaun. He does, like, an Irish accent for, like,
well, do you remember, did you ever watch Schmigadoon on Apple?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. But it got canceled, which is so annoying to me. But he plays a leprechaun in the show. Like, he's only in it for, like, a couple seconds, but he's, like, a little cameo.
For a long time, I thought he was in Disney Channel original movie Luck of the Irish.
Really?
He's not. Spoiler, he's not in it. I just really was like, oh, that leprechaun man had to be in that leprechaun movie.
What's crazy is he was actually one of my earliest crushes as a child.
I think he has a very, like, handsome, charming look. Like, I think it's his ears and his, like, he's just got, like, a little pixie face that gives me, like, you know, leprechaun vibes.
Yeah.
But I love him. He's precious.
Yeah, I watched Three Amigos as a kid all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I, like, had a crush on him, so.
Yeah. But speaking of, like, other people that we love, I know you wanted to talk about Quincy Jones passing away recently.
Yeah, legendary producer Quincy Jones died. He was 91. We definitely lost a legend because he is like, some of his notable work is, you know, Michael Jackson's Thriller, and he did, you know, he worked with Frank Sinatra. He was like a legend.
That makes sense as to why I kept, like, getting patchwork of, like, stories on NPR, like, when I would be in the car and be playing, and it was like, I was like, why are they playing Thriller? Why are they talking about Frank Sinatra? Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, I was really sad because, I mean, he's so iconic, and he's really the, like, I don't think people realize, like, how important to music he is. And actually, so he's also the father of Rashida Jones.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and Rashida Jones, if anyone hasn't seen it, I actually remember watching it, like, a few years ago. She did a very beautiful documentary about him on Netflix. I think she either produced it or directed it, maybe both. You know, it's just kind of about, like, it's literally about him. Mm-hmm. But I remember he was having health problems in that documentary too. Like, it showed him in the hospital, but it's a really beautiful documentary. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it and can learn a lot about him. But very sad.
That's too bad.
Rest in peace, Quincy Jones.
Yeah. Gosh, that really just patched together my whole NPR experience today.
Yeah.
I just kept being like, what random
stuff. I opened Twitter at, like, 7 a.m. this morning, and I saw, like, he was trending along with, like, you know, you can tell it's going to be news by just, like, how big the, like, if you go to, like, the trending page, like, how big the, like, block is, if that makes sense, and, like, how many hashtags are under it. I'm like, like, I was like,
oh no. But anyways, so I know another thing that you put on here was Lindsey Shaw. Who,
yes.
Do I know who this is?
So you probably do. You're just not thinking of her right now because I'm going to be honest, she's not super relevant anymore, but she is really trying to make herself relevant. And I don't mean to say that in a mean way. I mean, she's just genuinely, I don't think she's acting anymore.
She was in recently Single Drunk Female, I think.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lindsay. I apologize.
And it got like pretty well reviewed, but I don't know if like it got picked up for more seasons. I don't remember what it was on, but it basically was about like a woman who was like recovering from alcoholism, but I think it was supposed to be funny.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. It's a show, right? I saw the previews for it.
I never saw it, but I think it got reviewed well.
Yeah. So she is from, you probably remember her from Ned's Declassified. School Survival Guide.
Brown-Eyed Mosley. I think about that all the time. There's like an episode where it's like that flower.
I don't remember the show that well. I watched it, but it just didn't, like, it wasn't one of my favorite shows.
I watched it because the beginning of middle school was very hard for me. I didn't, like, have any friends or anything. I watched that and Bridget Jones's Diary every morning before school. It was, like, one or the other was on because I would record the episodes, and then also my parents had gotten me a DVD player, so.
Yeah.
And it really, like, I remember, this is actually really weird of me, but before I left 5th grade to go to middle school, I wrote my own like middle school guide, having never been there, and left it in like the bookshelves for like, oh, this will help a future 5th grader when they go to middle school. But then my teacher called my mom and was like, I think Alexa left her handwritten like manifesto in the bookshelves. And so then like we had to go get it back, and now I'll never help a 5th grader.
Aw.
Yeah.
You try to really have your own school survival guide.
I really did. Like, I really wanted that.
Alexa's Declassified.
Yeah. I want to rewatch it. But anyways, go ahead.
So, okay. Well, maybe you won't agree with what I'm going to say then. But
I probably do.
I just think, so she is one of the people, she and some of her former cast members of the show, I don't know the actor's name, but he's the one who played Ned. Yeah. Maybe someone else is on it too. But there's, they have a podcast about Ned's Declassified.
Yeah. His name is Devin Werkheiser, and I think Daniel Lee Curtis, who plays Simon on the show, is also on the podcast.
Okay, so yeah. So, I mean, that's fine. They're, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make money. I feel like it's kind of like when people have podcasts about a show they used to be on, especially when it's like they're not really working, I kind of give like, think it's like it's giving peaked in high school a little bit. Which I feel
like a lot of like those.
There's so many. Yeah. There's ones that like surprised me. There's one about It's Always Sunny. Yeah. And there's one about like I think New Girl. Like it's like ones that kind of surprised me because I'm like, oh, you guys are still like actors. Like, why are you doing this?
Scott Patterson, who plays Luke in Gilmore Girls, I think has a podcast about Gilmore Girls, which is interesting.
I'm surprised Draco Malfoy doesn't have one about Harry Potter because
he did like an autobiography, and it basically was like, I forget, God, I have to look it up because I was like, okay, so you're just making Harry Potter your whole identity, which again,
he does for sure. He's like the one that everybody thinks about when you think of somebody making their whole identity, which I feel bad because he seems like a nice man.
It's called Beyond the Wand.
Oh God.
The magic and mayhem of growing up a wizard, and like the picture.
He wrote a song about it too, but I could be wrong.
The picture is literally like. Okay, I'll be honest, he kind of looks hot.
No, he's very hot, but that's what makes it cringe that it's like he makes it...
Which again, like, I'm sure
he's an actor. It's not like he's not getting other work. I've seen him in other things.
Have you? I haven't.
Yeah, I've seen him, not in like a ton of things, but I remember he was in a Planet of the Apes movie.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do think... Because I think he's a good actor, but I do think it's interesting... Sorry, I'm pouring more wine. As always, we're drinking a Barefoot Riesling.
As always.
But... I think, like, it's interesting when actors, it's just, like, I think it's because it's probably the most, they know there's a payout, you know what I mean?
And I get that, so you kind of have to choose, like, money over, like, ego, I guess, I don't know, but I think, so, I mean, I'm not, like, totally knocking it, I am knocking it a little bit, but I think, you know, whatever, what I am knocking them for is, like, first of all, when the whole, like, Dan Schneider, when the Quiet on Set documentary came out, they were very vocal on the podcast about how I don't know if they were necessarily saying they don't believe Drake Bell, but they were kind of like, well, Dan Schneider was never like that towards us, so like therefore it didn't happen.
Oh, I didn't know
They were very
that.
much like that, yeah. And Lindsey Shaw, I think so she was also on Pretty Little Liars. I didn't watch that show, but I know she was on it.
Oh, okay.
And people like hated her character on there. And so I think overall, sometimes, like, people don't get, like, a great vibe from her. She gets, like, a lot of criticism on the internet. But she had this kind of, like, mental breakdown on TikTok the other day where she was basically complaining about Ned's Declassified not getting a reboot because they really want Ned's Declassified to get a reboot. First of all, what would be the context of it? They're not in school anymore, so what would it be for? What are they, like, teachers now?
Maybe if they were in college.
Maybe it's like...
maybe if they're
teachers. Like, fully, like, in their 30s.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I think they passed that. And also, like, why do we need reboots of these, like, Nickelodeon... Like, when they did the Zoe 101 reboot, I was like, why do we need this?
I can't think of a single person who watched that. I didn't want an iCarly reboot. Like, I'm not watching that.
Which also...
And I loved iCarly, but, like, I'm not watching that.
Tangent of Zoe 101, Chris and I randomly rewatched a few episodes, and the way they have to cut from Jamie Lynn Spears to, like, it's very clear they must have had to do so many takes of her doing her lines, because it's always just her alone in a frame.
Probably. She was a Nepo bit. Like, she's not, like, known for being,
such a bad, like, not that you're a great actress to be on, like, Nickelodeon shows, but, like, so bad.
Well, yeah. I guess Lindsey is very upset, and she was so mad that to the point where she literally was comparing Spider-Man to Ned's Declassified. She said Spider-Man can get 1,300,000 whatever reboot or, remakes, but Ned's Declassified can't get one. And I'm like, why are we comparing Spider-Man to Ned's Declassified? And so that's why I asked. I mean, I guess you're the person, but I was saying, like, the show was, like, fine to me. Like, I was not a huge fan, so I was like, do people actually give a shit about that show? Like, I didn't.
Here's the thing. If they did a reboot, I would watch it. Ned's Declassified was very formative to me.
Okay, that's fine.
But I am unique in that, I think. Like, I don't know anyone else who is watching it before 6th grade every day.
So clearly they have, I mean, I'm sure they have podcast listeners. Like, clearly people do care about the show, but I guess I just think, like there is no part of me, first of all, whoever wants a reboot of anything, I think they're cheap. I think they're just, like, they're just easy money. They're never good, And so, especially though, Ned's Declassified to me was just never a show. Like, I watched it sometimes, but I never really cared about it. So I think it's, like, so embarrassing that she's, like, comparing it to Spider-Man.
Also, when I think of their podcast, I always think they got, like, this was, like, a few years ago, it, like, really blew up a sound clip of where they were talking about, I think it was, like, she was giving Ned, I think it was blowjobs in between scenes.
I heard, yes.
And I was like, that is not that, like, she should feel ashamed for that or anything.
But it's like no one asked.
Like, that's just a crazy thing to just put out on the entire internet forever. And also, like, when I think about those, I mean, they were probably...
two of them. I always think she seems, like, a lot older than him. Like, she was, like, she's a very tall, kind of, she's a tall person, but, like, I always felt like he was playing with a small, like, wimpy
And they made jokes about that on the show. But also, I guess, they were probably, like, 15 or 16 when it, like, came out. But to me, I'm like, oh, you were, like, 11? Because I'm like, they're supposed to be, like, 11 or 12 in the show.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about, like, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And also, okay, who is supervising you?
No one. That's the sad thing about these sets. We know this now. They had some creepy people who were supposed to be their, like, who were in charge of them and were, like...
And that's another thing, like, I can't imagine, how, like, you always hear, like, how, like, Blake Lively and,
Ryan
Penn Badgley used to date or whatever, and then they broke up, and then it's like they had to film 4 more seasons. Like, I can't imagine, I know it happens all the time, but, like, actors, like, hooking up with each other, and then it's like, now I have to film these scenes and these seasons with these people. I am such a bitter fucking person. I would never be able to do that.
I think you can see, people always, again, I didn't watch Gossip Girl, but people always comment how you can tell, like, they hated each other.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it seemed like everyone hated each other on that show. Like, it just doesn't, that show did not make sense. Like, I watched all of it every season. I wanted to be Blair Waldorf, and I think about it now, that show was crazy. Chuck tried to sell Blair for a building or for a hotel. He literally sold her.
To One Direction.
Yeah. And I think about that all the time, and people were still like, this is the end-all be-all relationship, like romanticizing them. Like, he sold her.
It's so funny because it's so a show that that would be my vibe.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know it's bad, so I just don't have any reason to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I've never wanted to watch it.
You definitely have to be like 15 and...
Yeah, but I never watched it as a kid either. Like, I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, you wouldn't want to go back and watch it now.
Right, no, I know. I'm saying it's weird that I never watched it when I was younger, but, like, I never watched Pretty Little Liars either.
I watched, like, the first 2 seasons of Pretty Little Liars, and I think with like a lot of those, what was it, not ABC shows?
Yeah, I watched a lot of ABC shows.
Freeform. Which that branding is stupid.
Such an
to
ugly.
Me. It actually like really
it kind of makes
pissed
me
me
shiver
off
a little bit. I hate the name. I hate the logo.
Yeah.
Like
when they did that branding, I wanted to be like, I'm suing you for trauma. Like, what are you doing? But anyways, so like I would watch like the first 2 seasons of a show, and then it would fall off. Like with Pretty Little Liars, I was just like, who's A? Like, more things are happening. And also, like, it's so obvious that Arya and the teacher are dating. It's, like, so obvious. Like, I love Shay Mitchell, though. I follow her. She is one of those beautiful people I've ever seen. But the same thing with Secret Life of the American Teenager. I was like, why is everyone pregnant? I'm like, where in America is that happening? Molly Ringwald was pregnant. I'm like, she's like 45 in this show.
See, I don't remember like finishing the show. I feel like at some point you get older and then it's on for like 100 billion seasons.
Shailene Woodley's character's such a bitch in it.
You're my whore. But that's crazy that she started off on that and look where she is now. Like she's become. Yeah, that's true. You know, she is. Yeah. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about that. That's all I had to say. I just thought it was interesting. My mind was blown at the fact that she was comparing Ned's Declassified to Spider-Man.
But here's the thing. I was going to say that earlier. So, like, I was thinking about, like, you know, Tom Felton writing that book or whatever. I think, you know, it's an easy, like, payout, sure. But it's also, I think, like, this is probably the biggest thing that you've ever done in your career. Yeah. And it's almost like, did you watch The Queen's Gambit?
No.
Well, there's, like, this whole thing where she beats a chess prodigy and she beats, like, the biggest person in the world. And it's like, well, I'm 20 years old. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? So I think some of it is, like, reliving the glory
days. But that's where I say, like, that's, like, very peaked because other people have moved on.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of like, but if you
can't move on.
If
you haven't gotten anything bigger.
And that's why I say, like, I don't really judge. Like, I do get it. But at the same time, but then also, like, don't be annoying. And I find Lindsey Shaw really annoying. Yeah. So I guess that's what I'm saying.
I think, like, Leighton Meester is a good comparison to where, like, you know, she did, like, a couple movies or whatever, but her big thing is Gossip Girl. And she's not,
like, making it her identity.
Gossip Girl is Spider-Man.
I think the best thing to do is maybe go under the radar, maybe do other job, like, go into another, if you can't get a job in that field, I don't know. But you know what my favorite one is Bridget Mendler. She, you know, she's from, what's the show called? I can't think of anything. Good Luck, Charlie.
Okay, I never watched
that. So I mean, I didn't watch it either, but she is literally, so she stopped acting. She was, like, you know, the typical, like, Disney, like, singing and acting. She had, like, a singing career. I don't know how, like, successful it was. Then she enrolled at MIT and Harvard, and now she has co-founded a satellite startup, a satellite data startup. And I was listening to her in an interview recently where she was explaining, like, what like her company does and how it's gonna, like, you know, change the way that, like, the infrastructure. I don't even know what she was saying, but I didn't know what she was saying, but I was like, wow, I'm really listening. Like, you sound intelligent.
Yeah.
Because she's, like, totally, like, she's not, and I'm like, that's the way to go.
I always think of Kay Panabaker, which you might not recognize the name, but, like, it was like her and her sister were on Disney all the time. Mm-hmm. And Kay Panabaker became a zoologist.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So I loved Kay Panabaker and Danielle Panabaker when I was a kid because I loved the movie Read It and Weep.
Okay, it was literally like my favorite movie. I begged my parents for whatever laptop thing she had. That was my dream, to be like, I'm in high school and I wrote a novel that's a bestseller. Like,
if you ever want, well, it's probably on Disney Plus, but I was gonna say, if you ever want to watch it, I literally have the DVD of it.
Yeah, let's watch it after this. I'm not kidding. That was, again, another formative movie where I saw, and I was, like, a little bit too old for it, but I didn't care at the time. I was like, this is my dream.
There's something so satisfying about,
where she's like, zap, or whatever.
There's something so satisfying about that era of Disney movies. And also Cowbells was another one, because I loved Ally and AJ.
And I'm here to say, I know, like, people love High School Musical. I think as a standalone it's great, but I think you hate it. No, I think it ruined, like, the culture for Disney original movies, because now they're all, like, we're singing, we're dancing, we're doing whatever. And it's like, just give me a girl who wrote a novel.
Right.
You know? Like, I don't need a whole musical number. Like, and the thing is, like, every Disney Channel original movie has some kind of musical element.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, we just need a variety here. I don't know. That is my, but also
I see what you're saying. I do agree with that.
Like, High School Musical, I think, is fine. I don't hate High School Musical. I liked it when it came out. I just think, like, everything doesn't have to be a High School Musical, you know?
imagine having everything you've ever dreamed. Don't you want it?
Give me more Johnny Tsunami.
I should be Sharpay for Halloween next year.
You should.
Who's Matthew going to be? Ryan?
I love that for him.
Brother and sister who are like kind of...
Okay, yeah, maybe you guys shouldn't play brother and sister costumes. But, so the next thing I want to talk about, and I have on this note, it made me laugh beforehand, I just wrote Nina and Shaun got engaged.
It literally looks like it's like her friends. Like
they are.
But they're such like normal names. It looks like an actual couple.
Yeah.
Well, they are an actual couple.
So Nina Dobrev, who if you don't know, she was the star of Vampire Diaries, and Shaun White, American Olympian and hero. Shaun
Star
White,
of snowboarding.
often confused with Carrot Head, aka that's who I thought they were the whole of the 2000s.
Of course you did.
I thought they were the
such
same
an
person.
Alexa statement.
But actually, I think Shaun White is super hot. He is very handsome. So they've been together.
What he looks like recently, though.
Handsome.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I follow both of them on Instagram, especially when they first started dating. I am like very invested in them as a couple because they just seem what you
like with his short hair. Like
yes,
he looks really good.
His teeth are so white.
Ooh,
it's almost like he's famous and hot.
Oh, they're so cute.
And I think Nina Dobrev is one of those beautiful people. Like, I wanted to be her in high school.
She is gorgeous, but I used to get her so confused with Victoria Justice. Yeah. They literally have the same face.
I think Nina Dobrev is prettier, honestly. But in like a different way where I think maybe Victoria Justice, like, I just saw her as more of a child because she was in children's stuff, whereas like Nina Dobrev was in like
teen stuff.
Yeah.
Right there she looks, it's a photo of them on vacation, and right there she looks exactly like Victoria Justice. Like I
will say one time in 17 magazine I read it's like what I eat in a day, and it was literally like almonds for breakfast, a yogurt for lunch, and I was like, well, couldn't be me. I started styling myself like her in high school because I wanted people to be like, oh my god, you look like Nina Dobrev. No one ever did. Well, still waiting for the day.
Do you remember she used to date I don't think it was Ian Somerhalder, wasn't it the other one?
No, she dated Ian Somerhalder. Ian Somerhalder. Yeah, they dated for a while, and then he got married to
Nikki Reed. Yeah, Nikki but I thought she did date the other brother though.
No, maybe she did, but I know she definitely dated Ian Somerhalder because, well, I just know I'm like deep into her lore, I guess. Trying to be her.
I believe you.
And then they broke up, and like I don't know if things were like rough for a while, but I think they're friends again now because like they recently like had a little reunion or whatever, which makes sense because they dated like 15 years ago.
See, there's somebody who I could see doing, like, Ian Somerhalder is one, no offense to him, but I could see him doing a podcast about Vampire Diaries.
Interesting, because I feel like he's been in a lot of different things since then.
I've seen him in like 2 things total.
Yeah, I guess.
And I love him.
He has such a distinct look. He's so hot, though.
He's so hot.
But him and Paul Wesley actually have, I think it's like a whiskey distillery or something together. It's like 2 brothers. You know what? They're very close.
I do respect that. Okay. That's the other way to go because, like, I feel like it's either doing a podcast or starting a whiskey or tequila business with because Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have a tequila business, and I feel like that's just like it's either that or a podcast.
Should we start a whiskey business?
Should we?
We just make it full circle.
I think if this podcast really goes off, I think we do need to do a wine business.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, because it'd be Poppin In because you're popping wine bottles. Oh, TM, nobody take that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they got engaged. I'm just very excited for them. They are a good Instagram follow. I think Nina Dobrev is like very funny.
Sure, yeah.
She was also in one of the best like Christmas rom-coms I've seen in a while. With I forget the actor's name, but he was in Crazy Rich Asians. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well he was in it. He plays like the like kind of crazy cousin who like whatever, and it was actually really good. It was really sweet. It was very funny. It was not like a Lifetime original movie one. It was very good. And I honestly don't know when they ever are like working or anything because they're always like traveling and having fun with their friends and like they've been together for forever. And I'm just
they probably don't need to work. Like they probably just have the money.
That's true. They're rich and famous and successful. But I'm really happy for them. They seem like a really sweet couple. So congratulations to Nina and Shaun.
We love you.
From your good friend Alexa, who you know very well.
You know what I wish I had done?
I know you very well.
You know what I wish I had done before we got married was send out invitations to like everyone, like to celebrities or to like businesses, because sometimes they'll just, obviously they're not going to come, but they'll send like PR packages or they'll like send like little like things.
Send a wedding invitation to Alexander Skarsgård, like,
oh my god,
hey, show up. if you object, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Can you imagine?
No, yeah.
But like if we had someone to like, you know, I don't know, like Shake Shack or something, they would have, I just thought of something random. But
Crumble Cookie.
Oh my God.
But like where would you address that to, you know?
Crumble Cookie Incorporated.
Yeah. Crumble, cookie.
Also, I do want Crumble Cookies to sponsor us because I want to like, we'll do reviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll chew into this microphone. I love the sound of Crumble Cookie ASMR.
Is that a thing?
Lily, what's her face from Riverdale? Lily
Reinhart, yeah.
Yeah, she does them, and I find them so satisfying. I
Really?
watch every single one.
She is so beautiful.
She is. She's gorgeous. But, like, in such a natural way.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that I'm like, I would just see you, like, in society, you know?
Yeah. That show, Riverdale, was wild.
That's another one where it's, like...
Season 1, I actually, like, got to watch with my mom, and my mom doesn't, like, watch, you know, teen stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, she was into it. It was when I was really sick, and we were watching it together, and then season 2, we were both like, wait, what?
I only watched the first episode, maybe the second episode, but I remember I was in college when it came out, and I was, like, excited because the vibes looked cool, and I love Cole Sprouse, so I was, like, excited for it, and it was the worst, like, piece of shit I've ever seen.
There's a whole scene I always think about where Archie goes to juvenile prison, and the cheerleaders come and do a whole dancing while they're doing, like, a juvie football game.
The worst. Have you seen when Betty becomes a stripper and she's singing Mad World and Jughead is watching her?
She's stripping not for just Jughead, his dad, his friends, and her mom.
It's truly like it's so comical, but it's so comical how awful it is. But it's not even comical because you're just like, this is too cringe to take.
Yeah, but
they made that money though.
They did.
Monet.
And it's the same thing, like, you know, the same creator who... I was actually thinking about Devil Sabrina the other day. He made Sabrina, like...
Devil Sabrina... Oh, like the Kiernan Shipko?
Yes, where I'm like, I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I rewatched the whole thing recently.
Yeah.
I rewatched it all when it first happened, like the original Joan of Heart. Melissa Joan Hart one, and then I'm like watching this new one with Kieran Shipka. I was like, why is there so much devil worship?
I was gonna ask you, speaking of Sabrina, literally 2 minutes ago, I was gonna ask you this. Did you see that the 2 aunts from Sabrina are in a Christmas... Sorry, the way you're looking at me. It reminds me of like an old person who do that.
I just put my glasses on the end of my nose.
The 2 aunts from Sabrina are in a Christmas Hallmark movie together.
I think they... I know. I think,
or are they in it a lot? I don't know.
No, I think they've been in them separately, but I'm happy for them to be in it together.
Yeah, that was cute.
What's her face who plays Hilda in it? She was actually on... Oh, what's that blonde female comedian?
This whole episode is just us going, oh, what's that? Amy Schumer?
No, she has that show.
Nikki Glazer?
God, this girl. What is her name?
Oh, Taylor
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
She was on Taylor Tomlinson's show, and I saw the clip of it, and she was actually very funny. She has a show where she just brings on, like, random actors or comedians, and she, like, gives them prompts, and they just say, like, wild shit or whatever. It's funny.
Yeah.
They're, like, the clips are funny. I would never, like, sit down and watch the whole thing. But anyways... So today we have also a little special surprise for you guys. Really a surprise
really for us.
Yeah, this is actually a treat just for us. Maybe a treat. So I don't know if you've seen, like, Dua Lipa went viral because she was talking about her spicy Coke. And it's Diet Coke. Like, I think we did a tablespoon and a little more of pickle juice, a tablespoon and a little more of jalapeno juice, and we garnished it with some jalapenos and pickles. And we're gonna see people have
a lot of people have some really strong reactions to it.
Yeah,
but it kind of looked good to me.
The thing is, I've only seen positive ones, and what really inspired me was there's a video of Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg. Like, I don't even know why, if it was a promo for their new movie or what.
Yeah, I think it was.
Where they tried it and they were like, that's actually really good. And
yeah.
I was like, okay.
And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
If Kieran Culkin likes it, then I'm going to like it.
And I also should let you and listeners know this is only the second time I've ever tasted Diet Coke.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
A few weeks ago, I was at like a friend's like bachelor party or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I've never had Diet Coke, and everyone was like, what? And I sipped it, and I thought it tasted almost the same.
Oh, okay. But you've had Coke before.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a difference in taste with Diet Coke.
Yeah, but people love it.
Yeah, some people swear by, I think it's like either Diet Coke or Dr. Pepper people like swear by.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
Yeah, are you ready? Cheers.
It smells really strong. I'm really scared.
Okay. Cheers. That's good.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, that actually is very good.
I hope that was
Yeah, we did so much prep and like.
No, that tastes really good. Yeah, that actually is. I love the.
I was gonna say downstairs. I saw this meme where people were talking about this, and it's like, Jesus, Dua Lipa just trying to see like what she can get us to eat at this point.
I wonder, like, what caused her to make, like, where did she get
this
how did
from? These things fall together? Yeah. This is good.
It's good. It's very, it's like...
I wouldn't even describe it as spicy. It's just, like,
I mean, you can taste tangy. The jalapeno, but it's, like, yeah, tangy. And it actually has... It tastes like if you went to... What's the Coke machine that you said Emily likes?
Oh,
it's
the Freestyle.
The Freestyle, which I also love. It tastes like a Coke flavor from that machine, you know?
I'm surprised. I bet, that's a good branding opportunity for Dua Lipa if they came out with a flavor of this. But I don't know if it would taste as good, like, not just, like, fresh, you know? Yeah. Like, artificial flavors.
I'll definitely be sipping on this for the rest of the episode. Yeah. It's really good.
This is really good. I said I was trying to think of a way to make it alcoholic before. I don't know what alcohol would go with this.
Put Jack in it, I guess.
Yeah.
Jack and Coke, a spicy Jack and Coke.
Yeah. We can try it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
the night's still young.
Because it's a mini can of Coke. That's the key. And I don't really drink soda on my own. And I was like, well, now I just have 10 cans of Coke.
I did see that you brought up another Coke in case, I guess, we need more Coke. Mm-hmm. But I think it's perfectly...
Well, I think we were both nervous about the taste.
Yeah, I was nervous. I smelled it before and I was like, oh, that's strong.
It's lovely. It's not even that...
It's actually lovely,
yeah. It's like just an underlying taste.
I love it.
Yeah,
okay,
so give it a try. Yeah, thank you. Shout out to Dua Lipa.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
We can't just keep saying people are friends of the pod.
They are. If we are friends with them in our minds.
If we mention them, that makes them our friends.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shout out, friend of the pod, Timothy Chalamet.
Peep.
Yeah.
Did you see that they made fun of the Timothy Chalamet lookalike contest on SNL?
No, I gotta watch the rest of the episode. I meant to do it beforehand.
Well,
I've been really stressed with my viewing lately.
I know. John Mulaney always does. I don't think it's funny anymore, but he does this like bit for all of his episodes. Usually when he hosts, it's like this musical theater thing where it's like they're making fun of something specific to New York City, but then they make it into a musical. And the first one was really funny, but like now I don't think it's as funny anymore. But anyway, they did one where they came out and they were like the Timothy Chalamet lookalike contest, and I was like, wow,
I'm surprised they didn't have Timothy come on for it. I know, because he's been on SNL.
Pete Davidson was in it, but
yeah, that makes sense. But so we want to get into reviewing some things that we've been watching lately. So you went and saw Conclave.
Yes.
What is that? What is the word conclave mean? Because I always think of like the conclave of a shoulder.
So that's not what it is.
Like, you know, like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like suck in so you can see my shoulder bone.
I like a good conclave.
Yeah, a conclave can be pretty hot.
It can be pretty hot. You know what? It was kind of hot.
Kind of spicy.
So it also means it's basically the assembly of cardinals to elect a new pope.
The sexy assembly of cardinals.
I think, okay, so... First of all, the reason I said it was kind of hot was because Stanley Tucci and Ralph Fiennes are in it, and is that how you say his name? Ralph Fiennes?
Boines.
I don't know if I'm supposed to pronounce the S. It looks like Ralph, but it's Rafe. Like, I never know. Anyway, but basically, yeah. So that's what Conclave is about. So the movie is the Pope passes away in the beginning of the movie. He's like this beloved Pope, and leaving the seat open. So now Ralph Fiennes' character is a cardinal who has been appointed to gather a conclave to vote on who the successor will be. And I will say, you don't have to be like religious, you know, you don't have to have like a lot of like religion knowledge or, you know, be religious to watch the movie, but I will say it might come in handy to know a little bit about conclave, like what a conclave is, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I'm also dumb. But I saw it with my mom and I had to keep kind of like asking her.
You're not dumb. You used to say that all the time at our mutual shared job, and I'd always have to be like, you're not dumb.
Thank you. But I would say it's helpful to have I appreciate it. But it's helpful to have an understanding of what it is going into it, because otherwise you will have questions like I did. But it did teach me a lot about the process. That was interesting. But basically they have to like sequester themselves. Yeah. They literally like shut the doors, like sequester themselves while they vote on who the successor will be.
The only reason I know that is from a show with great historical inaccuracies called The Borgia, which was on Starz years ago. Which kind of has a similar premise, but like in like plague times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this was a fascinating movie because, I mean, you'd think it'd be boring. Mm-hmm. You know, it sounds maybe like it'd be a little boring.
Yeah.
No. The scandal, the drama. I saw like a lot of memes about how like comparing it to Mean Girls, and then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's absolutely true. Like it's like Mean Girls meets the Catholic Church.
So that's interesting because I know like actual friend of the pod, Liz, like mentioned she was like, oh, it looked boring in the trailer, and I will say like it's not even that the trailer looked boring, but I just wasn't like I was like I want to see that, but I don't know what it's about.
Yeah, it looked like to me that's what I love about trailers when they don't give too much away.
Yeah.
So it was not boring at all. It was actually, it was very, like, it was really interesting. It held my interest the whole time. And again, like, yeah, it definitely sounds like it'd be kind of a boring premise. It's very, like, I don't want to say Oscar baity, but it kind of, like, you're like, okay, this is going to be an Oscar movie. But it was fascinating to watch. Like, the whole time, like I said, scandal, intrigue, like, it's really good.
I mean, and not to say, like, the Catholic Church has a lot of scandal. We won't go into that. But I think, like, religion in general and, like, especially, like, Catholicism, because it's, like, basically, like, an election.
Right. It's, like there's so much, there's politics involved. And, again, there's, like, you know, there's a lot of, like,
thousands of years of history.
Yeah, backstabbing and like, you know, yes, that's background, but also a lot of backstabbing. Yeah. And but it was so good. It was also like beautifully shot. Like the visuals, the red and white of their, I was gonna say costumes, of their like uniforms, I guess, their outfits.
Stanley
was just,
Tucci's
like, very stunning.
Dome
Stanley Tucci's dome.
Priest.
And he was so good in it. So he's first of all, we've never had an American pope, but so he's like running.
Oh, really?
He's kind of in the running to be, and so it kind of threw me off because most of them in the movie are British.
USA.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or they're from different places. And so it was kind of weird to have like an American one there. Yeah. He was like one of the, you know, few, but
I do really want to see this movie, but I was going to say, I also feel like I think it definitely is like probably going to be in like Oscar or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like they didn't promote it a lot. Like I didn't see it really anywhere.
But I think it's one of those, and I'm used to this with Oscar movies, but like I think
being in the know
that typically happens. Like I feel like they're not always, unless they're like huge blockbusters. They're not always going to be like in theaters. I mean, this one did play at Movie Tavern, so that, you know, it was out. But I will say, the score was also very like striking, or just, you know, it was beautiful score.
Yeah. The
acting was phenomenal. Ralph Fiennes is just like incredible. Again, so sorry if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. Yeah. I don't know.
Don't ask me. As you all probably know, don't ask me how to pronounce anything ever. But I'm very interested to see it.
I think you'd like it. The ending is a little bit controversial. It's definitely going to be divisive for some, but it was interesting.
Okay, maybe that's like a movie I'll go see by myself, you know, like while it's in theaters. Yeah. I do love seeing a good movie on my own sometimes. Not saying like I don't enjoy seeing it with you, but you know, like when it's like no one else will go see it with me. And I know some people are like, I don't want to go see a movie by myself. I'm like, I would, like, it's fine. But I'm excited to see that. I think, like, movies about, like organized religion are very interesting. And I love to see, like, people's reactions to them. But I think, like, Catholicism just has, like, not that, like, every religion has, like, such a deep history to it, but, like, Catholicism is so, like, ritually oriented that it's interesting, you know?
It reminded me, too, of, like, when people are on a jury and they have to, you know, how, like, if it's, like, a big trial, they have to sequester themselves. Like, you can't be on your phones. They also, so the whole thing is like they have to, I forgot the exact number, but it has to be like a certain amount of votes for it to pass. Or for the vote to like, for them to choose the new pope. And if they don't get like each day, sometimes these can go on for like a month.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because like if they don't get the like a certain number of votes for one person, they have to go back to the drawing board, and then they have to go back and vote the next day, and then the next day. And so it's just interesting.
It reminds me, I had to do that in my sorority in high school when we were, like, electing a new board. And eventually it got to the point where people were just like, whatever. Like, I'm just going to vote with whatever's the closest that's going to win. Because you're just like, I'm done.
Well, and so that's the thing with this movie, too, is, like, they're campaigning, basically. Because, like, okay, so if, like, you know, they want to, at some point, get to just choose one, so it's like they have to like all come together and agree on one person. So I
was gonna say another Catholic movie I love is I feel like it's not talked about, But there's a movie, it's called, I'm going to mispronounce it, it's Novitiate, Noviate, and it's basically about, like, women becoming nuns in the early 1960s, and it's insane to learn, like, the process to become a nun is wild, especially back then, like, the amount of, like, kind of, like, physical and mental abuse that they had to suffer through to become a nun is actually so crazy.
Well, there's something, like, otherworldly to me about just, like, or not otherworldly, but there's just something just kind of almost, like, dark and, like, scary to me about praying all day.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what they do.
Yeah, and I mean,
they do other things, but, like, they pray for long periods of time. And I'm just like, how can one pray for that long?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's, like, me with my anxiety fixations, you know, but it's just, like, manifesting in a different way.
Yeah, I'm not saying whether it's a good or bad thing. I just think it's, like, it's interesting that they pray for, like, a long time.
It kind of reminds me of, like, every time I try to, like, meditate, where I, like, start out and then suddenly I'm just, like, thinking about, like, oh, well, when I go to the grocery store, I should get blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, no, focus, inner peace, inner self.
I'd be like Maria in The Sound of Music when she's just, like, she gets, like, bored of it or whatever.
Yes, but interesting. Okay, I will be going to see that. Yeah. I've had this actually on the docket for a while. So this is a show that I actually really love. It's called Tell Me Lies. It's on Hulu. It's actually produced by Emma Roberts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which, love that bitch, you know?
Like, surprise, it's me, bitch?
Yeah.
Emma Roberts?
Yeah. I think she has a production company.
I did not know that.
But it's also a book by Carola Lovering is her name, and I read the book recently. The book is, like, pretty different.
That is an interesting name.
It is.
Carola Loverling?
Yeah. The book is pretty different from the show, but basically it takes place, it's, like, freshman year of a college, and the main character of Lucy meets this guy who, he's a sophomore, and he's been there for, like, a while or whatever, and, you know, drama ensues, but I think it does a toxic relationship extremely well, and it was really, like, it hit me really hard, like, it's kind of triggering how well they do a toxic relationship, and it's in the, like, little details, because, you know, I think, for example, in the beginning, like, she wasn't that interested in him, but he was really interested in her, and as soon as she was interested in him, then he started, like, being shitty, and he kind of was, like, he's a sociopath, but he's very charismatic, and it reminds me a lot of, like, I had almost, like, especially in season 1, like, the exact same relationship. I was gonna say, freshman year.
I thought we talked about this already.
Probably talked about
season 1? No. Is this the second season then?
Yeah, so the second season came out recently.
Okay.
And again, it's just like, and so then, it, you know, she has this line that she says in season 2 where she's like, all I did was, like, love you, why are you punishing me? Mm-hmm. And you kind of, like, just realize, it's just the way they do it in, like, these kind of, again, these minute details where she feels like she needs to be kind of shitty to his ex-girlfriend, even though, like, he's never done anything, or she's never done anything to her, you know, and again, where it's this kind of back and forth pull. And so I think in season 2, it gets away from the book a little bit, but it's also really detailed where Lucy, the main character, starts a relationship with a new guy, and these are some spoilers, but whatever. And I think, like, one of the, like, telling details is, like, you know, they're about to sleep together for the first time, and he's like, let me get a condom, and she, like, starts to, like, get in her head, and she's like, well, she just says, like, she's like, are you sleeping with other people? And he was like, well, no, like, it's just our first time sleeping together, I figured you would want me to wear a condom or whatever. And, like, it starts a fight, and it's like, it shows just kind of, like, the toll that mental abuse that he takes on her, the original guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, he's very charismatic, but he's very clearly, like, a sociopath. Yeah. So people love him, but they never, like, see the real him. And I think it's interesting. Do you remember I forget her name, but she played the wife on Married with Children?
Oh, Katie, isn't it, like, Katie Seagal or something?
Yeah. It's her son.
Oh.
And she actually plays his mom in the show in season 1.
Oh, that sounds like that'd be weird to see your son.
Yeah, but the main character, Grace Van Patten, and I forget his name, but he plays Steven, they're actually dating in real life, which I think is interesting because they talk about, like, him doing all these horrible things in the show and the way he, like, talks to her and treats her, and they're like, you know, essentially we have to, like, take a break and take a breather afterwards because it is hard to, like, see this person that he's not like that at all in real life, obviously, but it is difficult to, like, talk to your loved one that way, even if you're acting, which I think is interesting. But I think, like, you know, this season gets into, like, a lot of different versions of toxic relationships, where there's, like, because she's a sophomore, one of her friends starts dating this, like, 45-year-old professor, but it goes into, like, the fact that she didn't really grow up with a dad, she grew up in the system, and then this other girl, like, it takes place in, it goes kind of, like, back and forth between present day and, like, when they were in college. And when they were in college, it's, like, 2008, I want to say. So they're also wearing, like, the low-cut jeans and, like, whatever. And you see, like, it's actually very funny. Like, they all have flip phones. And one of the characters, Steven, like, he's like, yeah, like, my dad got me an iPhone or whatever. And they're, like, talking about it. And it's just like, oh, wait, that's crazy. But anyway, so it's kind of, like, there's, like, a scene where, again, this is a trigger warning for sexual assault, but where she gets kind of wasted and she, like, her friend has to save her from a situation where, like, nothing has technically happened yet, but the whole season is kind of like, okay, she is kind of recovering from realizing she was in that situation. I just think it's very well done in terms of understanding just, like, the micro aspects of toxic relationships and how they can affect you in a certain way. And it was really, there was an episode recently where, I mean, I watched it, I, like, had to step away because, again, like, it held very true to, like, my first relationship that I had in college, to where that's why I kind of became, like, really obsessed with it, or not obsessed, but, like, really into it, because I was just like, I've just never seen anything reflected this well, where a lot of people, again, they reflect, like, toxic relationships where it's, you know, physically abusive, or, you know, it's, like, overly dramatic or whatever, and it's, like, in the little things. And I think it's interesting, in the book, the main character, she has an eating disorder, and they never, like, say this, you know, outright, but I think it's because it's, like, she's in this toxic relationship that she can't control, and what she can control is what she eats, food, and her weight. And so I just think I highly recommend it, as, like, it feels like they market it as the sexiest show on TV, and there is a lot of sex, but I'm like, I don't think it's, like,
sexiest.
There are, like, a lot of hot sex scenes, but that's not why I watch. I don't really care about that part. I care, like, I just think it is very well done in terms of portraying, like, the impacts of a toxic relationship that, again, and there's a scene, like, they go back to the future, she's dating this new guy, and the first guy that she's dating, who, his name's Steven, what's-her-face's son, is there, and there's a scene where she's, like, freaking out, and her new boyfriend's kind of like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, if you ever told me he laid a hand on you, like, I would take him out right now. And it kind of is like, oh, yeah, people don't take it seriously if it's not, like, a physical abuse, you know? But it's very clear, like, she spent years being emotionally abused by this person, but, you know, he never laid a hand on her, so people, it's always just kind of like, well, what did that really do? And I think, like, just for me, like, I really related to that a lot, like, in terms of the relationship that I went through, and so it's just a show that, like, means a lot to me, and I think it's just very well done. I highly recommend it.
It's interesting that it's being called sexy. Like, is it not like you see it as, you know, for what it is, but do you think, like, it's meant to be that?
I think it was in the beginning, but I think they're trying to maybe, like, get a wider audience, because it does feel like sometimes when you watch it, you're like, oh, maybe this is for, like, it doesn't feel like a teen show, but it doesn't feel like an adult show either, you know? Like, I probably wouldn't be watching it if I was, like, 45. You know, but I think it's definitely, like, a solidly mid-20s, and, like, what are people in their mid-20s? They're horny. So, you know, like, that's probably, like, what it is. And also, they're probably just sex sells, you know?
Yeah, but that just seems problematic, especially in, like, today's age. I'm surprised that they would, like, do that. It's kind of like, it'd be like calling, like, It Ends With Us sexy, you know?
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. And I think season 2 sometimes, like, strays away from, like, the toxic relationship aspect a little bit. But I think there are aspects of it that still, like, come back. Because they didn't really portray it as that in season 1. But I don't think, like, it was definitely a sleeper hit, I think, in season 1. And I think it's just really well done. But anyways, so another thing that I've watched recently, I feel like the next three are just things that I've watched, but I had this on here last week too, Salem's Lot.
Yeah, I do want to watch that.
I thought
Is that about vampires?
Shockingly, yes. Actually, I did know, and again, this is one of the times where I took an edible and watched the movie, but I thought it was like...
I thought it was a show. Is it a movie?
I thought it was a show too, but it's a movie.
Oh,
it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I heard it didn't get great reviews, though.
The thing is, And
not that matters. I'm just curious. Like,
it's kind of like what I talked about in our Diet Pop American Horror Story episode. Go listen. Where I think sometimes when they show the monsters, it takes away a little bit of the fear. Yeah. Because it's not that they weren't well done, but you still kind of like see the fakeness of it, so it takes you out a little bit, you know.
Interesting.
But I think it was it wasn't scary. Like, it's not something where I'm going to be like, that was a great horror film, but it has a lot of like, I think the classic horror tropes. I think is really well done.
Well, it's Stephen King, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it.
Which he has, like, I watched this whole show, what's the actress's name? Here we are again. Who plays Janice in Mean Girls? Lizzie Kaplan.
Lizzie Kaplan, okay.
She was in Castle Rock, which was like a show.
Yes, I loved Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was the weirdest show, though, because they marketed it. It was almost like they didn't know what it was at first. It was kind of like this. Yeah. It was like a combination of a bunch of Stephen King stuff, and it ended up being like its own story. Yeah. Bill Skarsgård was in it too.
Yeah, yes. Which there's like a whole like plot line in that where he just like shows up in a prison or something.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
It was I didn't really like love it, but I liked it. Like Sissy Spacek and Bill Skarsgård were in it, so I loved it for like the cast, but I also was like, the show is weird.
I don't think I finished it, but it takes place in like the same like Salem area where they also get into like the vampire stuff. So I knew like it was probably going to be like vampirism in some sense.
Is that a word? Vampirism?
I'm pretty sure.
I love that.
If not, TM.
Yeah.
But so I thought it was good. It hit on like a lot of like classic horror tropes, and there were like some scenes where it was good, but like, I don't know, there's like some children vampires that I was just kind of like, okay, and like at a certain point, it was just like so many people become vampires that, but I really love one of the main actors was he's the main actor in Lessons in Chemistry, which is on Apple TV, and it has Brie Larson in it, and he plays the love interest, and he's just a really great guy. He's just like a wholesome,
really
all-American, like not like in a country boy type of way, but like he just looks like he's probably nice.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a nice little fella.
Well, you know what? Oh, go ahead.
It's worth the watch, but it's not like I'm probably never going to watch it again.
Yeah. Did you hear that they're making a show about it?
Yeah, Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
Yeah.
And, okay, so I heard that and I was like, there's no way that they're going to have like Pennywise in it. Bill Skarsgård's supposed to be in like multiple episodes.
Oh, okay. I mean, how could they not have Pennywise
because why
in it?
would they? Like, it just seems kind of crazy that they're making a show about it.
I really thought that Salem's Lot was supposed to be a show.
Yeah, I think everybody did. I don't know where everyone got that idea. Maybe because it's like Stephen King, and I feel like so many of Stephen King's stuff now is like...
Yeah.
Or really just anything that comes out in general now is like a limited series. So it does seem like it would be.
And once again, like I am so stressed about my current viewing because, you know, the Rosemary's Baby like prequel show came out.
Oh, I'm not watching
7A.
that.
I want to watch that. I want to watch
I am reading that book though that's supposed to be like a modern version.
Oh, okay. Sweet Pea. It has the girl from Yellow Jackets in it. Again, don't know anybody's name apparently, but y'all know who I'm talking about. There's just like a lot of shows. I need to finish Three Women with Shailene Woodley, which I love that book.
So I am watching a show currently on Apple called Disclaimer, and it has Cate Blanchett in it, and it is, I'm not done with it. It hasn't finished yet, but it is like, I can't wait to talk about it. I kind of want you to watch it too, just so, but if not, like whatever, I'll still rant about it. It is so, it's actually an infuriating show. Like it really is.
In a good way?
It's just
because I heard
just infuriating.
Really mixed reviews about it.
Yeah, I have mixed reviews in my head about it.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I haven't actually read any reviews on it, but it's like I'm still watching it when new episodes come out. But like I binged like the 4 or 5 episodes and then like a new one. So it's still coming out right now. But it is just like I think it's based on a book, but it like the premise is just so infuriating. Like it doesn't.
What is the premise again?
So basically it's told from like multiple perspectives, but it's about this woman who she she's kind of like she's a successful like family, you know, she's a mom, and she's married to Sacha Baron Cohen, and they have a son, but basically she has this kind of like this past that she's kind of trying to keep hidden, and where basically it's discovered that she had an affair with this, I don't know if he was a teenager, but he was like a young guy on a vacation. She cheated on her husband when her son was really little. And basically the son drowned or was drowning, and the kid went and saved him. And when he went to save him, he like drowned and died. Oh. So now the dad, and it like wrecked the kid's parents' lives, and like they are obviously distraught over it. And now the dad, like years later, is now trying to basically take down this Cate Blanchett's character's like life. And he wrote a book about it where the main character is clearly about her. Yeah. And she's like a successful, I can't think of what her actual like, she's not a I think she's a journalist. He's like trying to basically ruin her life by coming out with this story, but I'll just be like, I guess there's spoilers, but like it's so infuriating because everyone's turning against her. Yeah. And so the whole thing is the show is called Disclaimer, because in the disclaimer before every episode, there's a disclaimer that says this show contains graphic physical and sexual violence. They have not shown that at all yet. So it is very clear to me that like because this is told from different perspectives, because the whole thing is the book was actually written by the husband, the old man's wife before she died from cancer, and she wrote the book. So she, from her perspective, this guy, when they show flashbacks of how it happened, I hope I'm making sense, but Cate Blanchett's character kind of like manipulated him and was like a womanizer, and he's like this like, you know, he doesn't have a lot of experience or whatever. And so they're making her look like such a bad guy, like this like kind of villainous older woman. But it's very clear because they're like, this show and I feel like the show is called Disclaimer because it's hinting like, look at this disclaimer every episode. Yeah. It literally says it contains sexual violence. It hasn't at all. So I think like I think it's a different like what the mom perceived as what happened was not actually what happened. Like maybe the boy was like really not a good guy. Yeah. Because it's so infuriating. So basically this book is coming out. This man is like stalking Cate Blanchett's life, like trying to ruin her life. Like for what? Okay? For what? Even if like what was true is what happened, what's so bad about that? The kid risked his life to save her son. Yeah. Okay. Like, it's not like she drowned him. She didn't kill him. So, like, what's the big deal?
I feel like there must be something that because you haven't finished it yet, right?
Right. But, so all of that is, like, the big picture of, like, what everybody hates her for. And I'm still just like, okay, but even if that was the truth, because her truth hasn't come out yet. Yeah. And she's like, you don't understand, like, and she's trying to explain, and, like, no one will listen to her. The husband is turned against her. And it's like almost like comical how crazy it is. Yeah. And the son is like hates her. The son hates her. And these people are like all are like turning against her. And I'm like, what did she do that was so bad? Yeah. Other than, okay, the affair was bad. But other than that, it's not like she killed the kid. Yeah. You know?
There must be something.
It's just like, it's so infuriating to me. The acting is really good, so it's keeping me involved. Like, it's keeping me interested.
I was curious to hear your take on it because, again, I've heard, like, really mixed things, which is why, like, originally it was, like, on my radar. Like, oh, like, I'll give that a watch. And then it was kind of like I saw the reviews. I was like, oh.
I want you to now. What are the reviews? I'm curious because, like, I haven't even
think people say, like, it just kind of, like, lost the plot or, like, it just wasn't, like, there wasn't, like, it didn't keep people's interests, you know?
It is keeping my interest, but it's, like, in an infuriating way. Like, I'm getting so angry watching it. And so I know we were not supposed to talk about this at all, but I had to get this out of my head. Like, good. I was like, I need to rant about it because it's just such an infuriating watch. It's interesting. So I'm curious to finish it, and then I'll let you guys know, like, for real what my review is.
Because I always say, like, my recommendations on things are always based on the ending, you know? Like, I'm not going to recommend something to you usually until I, like, finish it because, like, for example, Archive 81, phenomenal show.
I don't think I know what that is.
It came out, like, a few years ago, but the ending... And I think there's going to be a season 2, but the ending kind of sucked. So I'm like, okay, I don't really recommend it to people, even though 90% of the show was amazing, you know? So it just depends. But speaking of other things we've watched, and I think I hinted at this earlier, I watched the Martha Stewart documentary.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was really good. I watched it on our flight from...
What does it cover? Like, what is it?
Her whole life. So it starts out, like, as... Like, they talk a lot about her being a perfectionist as a kid and how she got it from her dad, who was also apparently...
She wasn't a perfectionist about her money.
Well, so it's interesting. So, okay, I think it's...
I'm just joking. I think that was unfair for her.
Oh, totally. Yeah, they go into that a lot because I do remember, like, when that all happened and just being like, ha ha ha, Martha Stewart's going to jail. But they get into that... And it's interesting because it does seem like it's a little bit gray where I think like maybe she did more than she like said she will, but I don't think she did enough to like go to jail and be in prison.
Totally, that's an example of, that's one where they like made an example out of her.
Oh yeah, and that's what they said like basically the whole time, and people like were saying that there. But I think it's interesting, she talks about how like she went to, basically they call it like the name is like Camp Cupcake of the jail she went to, and she's like, it was not a cupcake. And it's interesting, she's like, the food was horrible, there was nothing fresh, like whatever. And she talks about like this one woman who had a garden that was like, she had no resources. And I will say, I thought like they would go back and be like, and so when she left, she was like, let me like
the prison reform or whatever.
Let me like provide you guys with some resources or whatever. They never go into that. But I do think like the beginning of her life is very interesting, because I only knew Martha Stewart like, you know, she was already like 45 and a little bit older. And I think like they talk about her being essentially like the original lifestyle influencer. Yeah, which totally. Which I think is very accurate, where she was just like, she was a beautiful like young woman. She started out like modeling just to like make money. She came from a background where she, I think, had 6 siblings. They didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. And so she was trying to like make ends meet. And so then she married this guy who was kind of like wealthy, and it was a whole thing because he was Jewish and her dad didn't want her to marry him, but she did anyways. And they were together for years, but that's how she started like her catering business. And it's actually crazy because she's such a hyper intelligent person. Yeah. In that even before catering, she went and she worked on Wall Street, and she was one of the only like women working on Wall Street. And she did something else before that, I forget what it was, where I was like, oh, like you have to be like pretty smart to do that thing. I forget what it was. But I think it's just interesting to see like her being interviewed. They like she doesn't like to talk about her feelings, so she'd be like, well, I gave you the letters, they're pretty personal. And so then it would just be a kind of like reading through the letters, which I thought was interesting. Her handwriting is wild, I will say that. I'm like, I don't know how they read these letters. But I think like they
letters
go into
to what? Letters to who?
It's like letters to her husband when he started cheating on her. Or like letters, like she kept a diary where every day she like wrote about like being in the prison and that sort of thing. So I think it's very interesting, and how she basically was the first person to do a company where it's like, this company is founded on me as a person. Yeah. So like like when she first started doing that, investors were scared because they kept saying like, what if she gets hit by a bus? You know, like I don't know why that's the example they always use, but basically, like, what if she dies?
She's just gone suddenly.
Yeah. But instead, like, the way that stock plummeted after she went to jail is insane. Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like she kind of never left the cultural zeitgeist, but I guess she did for a little bit. And I didn't realize that the way she came back was from Justin Bieber's Comedy Central roast. Is essentially how they like portrayed it.
I wonder if that's how she got kind of like hooked up with
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, because they sat together like the whole time, and she said, she was like, we were
and
together
such an
for
unlikely duo that I think they branded.
Well, she was like, we were sitting together for 7 hours, and he was just smoking like blunt after blunt, and she was like, I was just high off residual fumes. Yeah. But you know, basically, I think they're like not around the same age range, but you know, like Snoop Dogg's a little bit older too. I think Martha Stewart's in her 70s. Maybe early 80s now.
I feel like he's a lot older than he looks, whatever age he is.
Let's see.
I feel like we are going to be surprised with...
Yeah. Well, what would you guess?
I would guess like 50.
Okay, 53.
Okay.
Good. Good job. Bravo. But yeah, so basically they got to talking afterwards, and they realized, you know, he said like, we just had the same values. Like, we just care about like good people and good times and like whatever. And so I think like she was very wise in rebranding her brand, essentially from being Little Miss Perfect to being like, now me and Snoop Dogg are talking about like what to eat if you're high or whatever. And at the end of it, they talk about, you know, recently she was like the oldest woman on Sports Illustrated, and she came out as like, or not came out, but like she posted this photo of her like at the pool. You've probably seen it, where she's like this. I'm trying to do the face. I can't do it. She's like very clearly had work done, but she looks hot. You know, and she's like America's hot grandma. And so like they talk about like, I think she is the queen of rebranding and kind of letting go of that perfectionism. But the whole time, like her obsession with her gardens and gardening, like I wish I had a passion for anything like that in my life.
It's funny because I think back and I'm like, obviously I've always known the name Martha Stewart, but I don't think I ever really knew what exactly she did? Like, what was her, like, lifestyle? But, like, was it cooking? Was it...
It was all of it. She would say, I care about living, you know? So it'd be, like, her first book was, like, entertaining. And it's, like, how to throw parties. So it's, like, how to, like, you know, make
feels
things...
like a 1950s, like, wife thing.
But
it's important. I think it's good, but it's
And that's the thing
funny.
is they talked about, like, it came out in the 80s during a time when it's, like, a lot of, you know, women were working.
Yeah.
But they still had, like, this interest in the home. And so... trying to balance those things, I think, is what really, like, drew people to her. But that's how she came out with, like, it's all about, like, all the aspects of life, of making your life beautiful. So it's all the parts of, like, and, you know, I think, once again, invest in things that women care about because she made a lot of fucking money. She was the first, like, self-made woman billionaire, based on just, like, you know, her magazines and her image, her persona, because... you know, people can dream for that perfectionism, even if you can't reach it. And I think, you know, she's just a very interesting character. I would give it, she's not a character, she's a person, but I would give it a watch. I think it's interesting, again, like seeing these people where, like you said, Martha Stewart, you just are like, that's Martha Stewart. I don't really know anything about her, and just kind of learning where she came from.
Interesting.
I know you were really excited about Andrew Garfield's Chicken Shop Date. I think we talked about it like 2 weeks ago. It came out last week.
It came out last week, so we're a little late to the game, but it actually may have been like 2 weeks ago now. I don't know. But so Andrew, we talked about it on a previous episode, but Chicken Shop Date is little show on YouTube. Yeah, we talked about her earlier, but Amelia de Moldenberg, are we saying her name correctly? She is a British, I guess, comedian. She's an internet personality. She has a little YouTube show called Chicken Shop Date. It started out little where she would just like interview, like we said, like kind of just, you know, rappers that she liked, and I think she may have been like in college or something when she started, and it's blown up since into like, she's not a household name, but, you know, people, really famous people go on her show now, like Jennifer Lawrence or Billie Eilish or, you know, Sabrina Carpenter, like, and so she's very funny. Her humor is very quirky and awkward, but she finally had Andrew Garfield on the show, which is like everybody's been waiting for because they had such crazy chemistry on a red carpet one time. And it was everything and more. Yeah. Truly. Like, it was so interesting too, because she doesn't like to like break, her humor, like we said, is like very like awkward, and
because the premise is supposed to be funny. Like you're on a first date.
Yeah, you're on a first date, and she like asks like weird questions, and always like the people she has on like are always good. Yeah. Like, I've never seen a bad interview, I don't think. But they always get it, and they're always like, it's almost like, even though it's like awkward and funny, you're almost kind of like, ooh, like she has chemistry with everyone. Yeah. But Andrew Garfield like makes her, like, he tries to like break down the like fourth walls. Yeah. Like, he's like we're on an actual date. He wants to acknowledge, he's like, what is this? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, what if we actually went on a date? Like, he's like hardcore flirting with her. And Andrew Garfield's such an interesting person to me too. Just to get a little introspective. Like, first of all, did you know he had a girlfriend?
Who was a professional witch?
Yeah, she's like, did we talk about that already?
No, I heard about it.
Okay, she was kind of older too. Like, I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought she seemed older. But I was like, who's this? Like, they announced that they broke up, and I literally was like, I didn't know he had a girlfriend. But it happened right after they filmed Chicken Shop Date, so
Really? I thought it happened before, but interesting. That would make
sense. It happened before it came out, but I think they already filmed it. But yeah, it was really spicy, and I loved it.
Yeah, I would love to see them date. But also Andrew Garfield, he's my favorite Spider-Man, hands down.
Really?
Yeah, I just think he's just...
Somebody else said that recently too. I can't remember who it was.
Was it me again?
No.
I think someone said that to us recently, because that's also in my mind.
Was it Eric? Shout out Eric, friend of the pod. I think it might have been Eric.
Maybe.
But it was, he's not my favorite Spider-Man. I did love them when they came out. Like, I was in high school when they came out, and I loved them. And then, like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, those aren't very good. Yeah. But I do appreciate him as Spider-Man. I think, he's also just a phenomenal actor, like, genuinely.
He also seems like a very genuine person. Yes. And so he also, like, kind of went viral recently, because he was on New York Times Modern Love. Like, they read stories from people, like, writing in about, like, their, like, personal love stories, whatever it is. And it actually, like, he started breaking down crying during it. It's this guy who's, like, I guess he's talking about, like, the aging of, like, love. of love. And there's this guy, like, he starts talking about, he's like, my wife hasn't worn a bikini in years because she says, like, she can't wear them anymore, and I don't drive at night anymore because, like, I, like, feel uncomfortable with it. And he just starts crying, and I'm gonna gosh. Like, say, it's like really emotional.
Wait, whose idea, I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it, whose idea was it for him to read it? Like, was it just, he just wanted to read it?
Yeah, I think that's, like, what they do. Like, I usually just read the Modern Love section, but I think they have, like, a podcast or whatever, like a recording where people come in and they just read the stories.
Okay, so it wasn't like he came to whatever he was at and was like, hey, I just want to read this really quick.
No,
okay.
I don't think so. And I don't know if he had read it beforehand, but he, like, literally broke down. And I think part of it is because, like, he talked about, like, he's 40 years old and he was realizing he might not have kids. And I think his mom passed away, like, in the past few years from cancer. And he's just done, like, a lot of, I think he's, like, a very hyper intelligent, like, introspective person. And, you know, I love he, like, talked about, like, how grief is essentially, like, a privilege because it's, like, you know,
makes you realize how much you miss, or how
much you loved them and, like, you had that love in your life. And I think, like, I don't know, but him just, like, and the thing is, like, what he was reading, like, is so simple. Like, again, the thing about, like the bikini and driving at night isn't really, like, a crazy thing, but just thinking about, like, the act of, like, oh, it's because, like, you're aging and, like, you just... he's like, and it was like about, like, the guy being like, I want my wife to know she should wear a bikini, like, I think she looks beautiful even if we're older. Aww. And it's just like, I just really go watch it.
God, I'm gonna be a mess tomorrow night.
We're gonna go see We Live in Time. We'll let you guys know. And
that has him and Florence Pugh in it. It's basically about, like, their relationship while she's going through, like, a cancer diagnosis.
I'm ready to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to be...
I'm not. I literally hate crying. But I will be in a dark theater, so...
Yeah, whatever.
But I hate that. Okay, I'm gonna bring tissue for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I thought about, though, like, during this podcast is, like, am I gonna order food and then, like, sit there and cry? Like, that's so uncomfortable. How am I gonna eat?
You're just, like, put the chicken in your
like,
mouth.
I thought about... I got, like, excited thinking about the chicken, and then I was like, oh, that's gonna be really weird to eat while I'm crying. But have
you ever, like, cried while eating and, like,
it's so humbling. That seems like a really humbling thing
to do. And, like, it's like sometimes this is so weird, but, like, the salt from your tear, like, kind of gets in your food. You're kind of like,
tasty.
You're so sad, but you're like, kind of a good flavor, you know?
Like, I needed some salt.
Yeah, that needed some flavoring from my body.
He's really on kind of, like, I don't want to say it's his brand to be, like, sad and emotional, but he also went on Sesame Street and talked to Elmo about grief, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, it was really, like, he said the same thing.
I want to cry with him.
I know. Well,
like, I think I would see him and cry, not because I'd be like, oh my God, you're famous. I'm just like,
he's just such a beautiful human. Like, I feel like he's just one of those people that you can, like, describe as that, you know, just inside and out.
A genuine person.
Human.
I really
who feels his feelings. And I really appreciate when men do that, when they, like, are really just, they do not try to hide their feelings and sensitivities.
And I also love, he, like, said this quote, I don't know if it was recently, but it, like, popped up on my feed about, like, people were like, oh, do you want to be a dad? The thing is, I think he does, but he's also, like, he was like, you know, I'm a pretty tired person, and I just don't want to be a, like, pretty tired dad.
It's probably very hard to be, real talk, it's probably very hard to be a parent when you're in Hollywood.
Yeah.
When you're working as much as he is. I mean, he actually took a break from acting for a while. I remember when he, like, announced it. It was, like, after he did, he had just done a ton of movies, and then he announced he was going to take a break from acting, and I literally was distraught. I was like, no! And now he's back now, so it's fine.
He's just, like, a precious little person. But that brings us... What?
Tall person.
Oh.
Don't you do your what to me like that.
No, it's not supposed to be an aggressive what. Like, I just genuinely wanted to know what you said.
Hurts my feelings every time.
I never know why. Like, I'm not trying to be like, cry. What? Like, I'm just like, what? What? It's just, what if I said, I'll just start being like, pardon?
That sounds worse.
Pardon? That was supposed to be British. That was bad. That was better. But that brings us to, let me make this the last thing.
Yeah.
Our question of the week, which if you are interested in answering, we post every week. It's on our Instagram. Follow us at Poppin In Podcast. But this week, what was our question?
So we asked, we asked if you could take a celebrity on a date, who would it be and where?
Oh, okay. I thought it was So I have like a little bit of a different answer. Like if you could go to dinner with any celebrity, like who would it be and where? But I guess it would also maybe be a date. Yeah. Okay, well I'm going to say mine. Okay. I would go with Zendaya to Taco Bell.
Oh, I think her body would explode. I don't mean that in a gross way. I just mean like I don't feel like she eats Taco Bell.
I think she does. I think she is a very like I think she's maybe like a little bit of a naturally thin person. Like have you seen those people where it's like, oh, they just eat Bojangles every day and they're like a size somehow, 0. Yeah.
I think she's so envious of those people, by the way.
Oh, aren't we all?
Yeah. But you're right. I could see her like that too.
Yeah.
But my first thought though was like, oh my god, she would.
She takes a bite of a 5-layer beefy burrito and just combusts.
I love Taco Bell.
I do too. Also, they got rid of their breakfast, which their breakfast is phenomenal.
Oh, because didn't you have a breakdown one time?
Yeah, it was after I had to go to the DMV 9 times. This was my 9th time for one stupid thing. And so I was like, I'm going to reward myself with some Taco Bell. I literally got there before they opened. The line, like the sign lights up and I see, there's no breakfast on here. And I say, excuse me, ma'am, can I, are you also serving Taco Bell breakfast? She was like, no, we don't have that anymore. Like, okay, really? Because it's 9 a.m., so why wouldn't you? So then I'm, like, in line, so then I was like, can I just get 2 soft taco supremes?
Why are they open that early?
Why?
And wait, so what is their breakfast menu?
Just they have, like, a bunch of, like, other little things, but they have, like, a Crunchwrap, like, a breakfast Crunchwrap Supreme that's phenomenal. It has, like, a hash brown in it, and it's, like, sausage, egg, and, like, it's
very
amazing.
Possible we've had this exact conversation on this podcast before.
I talk about breakfast all the time.
I had that same experience recently with Chick-fil-A. I got in the line, I'm not kidding, 10:36.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, are you guys still serving breakfast? And they said, nope, we closed at 10:35. 10:36,
Wait. They closed breakfast at 10:35?
That's so, I swear to you, the lady said 10:35, but I looked it up later and it was 10:30 is when they close it, which is still random. I mean, it's not 11 yet. But she did say 10:35, so she was wrong. Chick-fil-A, get her.
Yeah,
get her, girls.
Not a pleasure.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Not my pleasure. Yeah. And you can't even drive away angrily because
you're in line.
Escape that line.
That's why I got the 2 soft tacos at 9 a.m.
But it was literally before 11 a.m. I'm ordering a chicken sandwich I didn't want. I was like, I'm not ready. My body isn't ready for this
And
yet.
Granted, I did eat the soft tacos at 9 a.m. And then the rest of the day, I felt so bad about myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, imagine if this had been a soft taco in a breakfast setting.
It's truly crazy how food can, like, ruin your entire day.
I will cry over food. I have been like
It's the last straw, yeah.
It's the last straw. Like I always say, I used to have really bad anger problems, and the example I gave is I remember my dad one time ate my half of a leftover sub in the fridge without asking. It's like, I don't know, 7 a.m, and he said it to me, and I said, no, that's fine. And then I went to open the blinds. I ripped them off the wall. I was 12 years old.
Before you say that, though, like, usually you tell it, like, your dad ate your leftovers and you were so angry that you ripped the curtains off the wall. So, like, in my head, I picture your dad telling you, and then you just storm over to the windows and you angrily rip them off. Like, not on accident, but, like, angrily, you know? And it's just, like, I could see that, though, unfortunately. Like, I could really see you doing that.
Oh, yeah. And my dad, I will say, has always asked if he could eat my leftovers ever since. Like, I think, like, I picture his face looking at me as a 12-year-old, ripping the blinds off the walls and being like, I'm afraid of that child.
I told somebody this recently because sometimes I'll go out to eat with people and they're like, you're not going to eat your food, and I'm like, I'm excited for my leftovers.
Oh yeah, you
like,
do
it's
say
genuinely
that a lot,
like my favorite thing. So I can't imagine someone eating my leftovers are so coveted to me.
Yeah, it was an Italian sub. From Sal's by Victor, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
Alexa's anger sometimes does make me laugh because she'll be like,
no, that's like that is my frustration.
Yeah,
anger.
I know.
I don't think you've ever seen me like
your anger is like physical. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like not like you beat me.
And it's always
but...
over. Like I never get that angry over like regular things. It's always over absolute bullshit.
But that's what I mean is like when I say physical, it's not like you're like beating somebody up, but it is like
ripping the blinds off the wall.
You're just very like visibly angry, like
I literally after that Taco Bell experience, I'm sitting in the parking lot Again, I'm just in my front seat.
Sobbing.
And I just went,
yeah,
and like screamed in my car. I'm like, if there was anyone around, they would be like, what the fuck? Like, I just let out an absolute horrific scream. Why don't they just give
leftovers? There's no way they didn't have leftovers, you know?
I think they just didn't. I don't know when they stopped.
I'm still thinking about Chick-fil-A, actually, but yeah.
And what kills me is Chris was like, I came home, I told him the story. He was like, yeah, they stopped serving breakfast.
Oh my God.
Why wouldn't you relay this news to your girlfriend who loves Taco Bell breakfast?
That's true. It should be like written on your fridge. But also, like, if I were him, I would not have even told you in that moment. Like, I would have been like, no way.
I just punched Chris in the face. But anyways, who would you go to?
Yeah, I fear we've lost the plot.
Yeah.
So I thought about it. I would love, well, now I'm nervous. I don't know if I like my answer. I was going to say I would go on a date with Cillian Murphy to like.
I knew it.
You did not know it.
I was close.
I would like, it would be something with like, he's already done this actually in a video with Christopher Nolan, his first one. But I would go on a date with him to like the Criterion Closet, like to look at like yeah, I just feel like that'd be like, that's so like, I feel like that's where he truly like belongs.
I love that.
Maybe not, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's somebody like better to do that with, but it was the first thought that popped in my head. I don't even know if it makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like he would be good to do that with. What's her face?
Bill Hader also goes crazy in those. Have you ever seen his? No. He now has 2 videos because one just recently came out. That man loves the Criterion collection.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I bet Zoe Kravitz, apparently she watches 4 movies a day.
There is one of her and Channing Tatum in it.
Interesting.
But I didn't watch it because I felt like I was like, what do they know? But you know what? They probably do know.
Yeah. What do those famous actors in movies know about movies?
I don't know why. Just my first thought, maybe because it's not really Zoe Kravitz, but like Channing Tatum, seeing him, and I was just like, what's he going to talk about? But I'm sure it was fine. So
yeah.
I feel bad now.
But anyways, I think that's all we have for you this week. Thanks for popping in with us. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Poppin In Podcast to see our out of context posts, respond to the question of the week, and just in general, like, pop in with us. Please rate, review, like, subscribe. Everything helps. Share with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.